Chapter 101. Resurrection. Jining Shuang. Hearing this name, Rao was Yi Chen's breeze and couldn't help but frown. Zhang Ling's body reappeared, which surprised him. Appearing in Zhengyang sect was beyond his expectation, but this Zhang Ling's body was his former lover, which was how he never thought of it. She turned out to be the body of the mysterious spirit. Murmured to himself, Yi Chen's expression was constantly changing, and his eyes were uncertain. Did you wake up recently? I haven't noticed anything before. No wonder her practice will progress so fast. It's really scary to say that Jining Shuang. Yi Chen murmured in his heart, while Xie Yun on the side was groaning and whispering. I heard that Zhengyang's outside door was big, and she beat entering the inner door. The inner door is a vomiting blood that beats one of the 9 true disciples of Zhengyang. This strength is boundless. Quote. Yi Chen was silent, and his former lover was in the blood of the legend, making it difficult for him to accept for a while. The body of the mysterious spirit. Look at this posture. After 3 months of comparisons, Zhengyang sect is going to overwhelm Mihengyu and Qingyan sect. Xie Yun rubbed his eyebrows. I know, I am a true disciple of Hengyu Nieman. It is really difficult to find someone who can match her. Quote. We really are not all the way. Listening to Xie Yun talking about Jining Shuang's glorious deeds, silent Yi Chen, but there was a hint of irony in his mouth. He was determined that even if his dantian was not broken that day, he and Jining Shuang would have no results. Zhang Ling's body, how noble blood it is, and Jining Shuang, who is a noble person, since she knows that she is Zhang Ling's body, with her pride, she will be with him alone. Definitely not. Yi Chen's answer is no. This is a monk's world. Although it is luxurious, it is also cruel. Even if they are mutual lovers, they also pursue door to door. At this moment, the night had completely fallen. As the first disciple Xiao Jingyi of the Law Enforcement Hall, a gossip serial, knocked a disciple of Tianyang Peak off the battlefield, this Heng Yizong's outside door was really over to the 3rd round of competition. At this moment, many disciples have sat upright. They are all disciples who want to participate in the resurrection competition. Whether they can get the opportunity to enter the inner door depends on the next resurrection test. On the cloud, Dao Xuanzhen has already entered a huge compass into the huge compass, and then there was a rumbling voice. The outer door's resurrection, now. Hum. With a buzz in the air, the huge compass rose slowly. Then, the 2 auras fell down in no particular order, falling in the east and west directions, and they were disciples in the Tibetan Book Pavilion and the Spirit Orchard. The 2 jumped onto the stage, and the war broke out. Perhaps it was because there was only one chance for resurrection, and once again caused them to attach great importance to it, so that each one showed his best. The mysteries of mystery continued, and each one was crazy. Puff. With the appalling apprenticeship of the disciples in the library, the disciples in that orchard were knocked off the stage. The next battle is extremely hot, and it can be described as bloody. The splashing blood has stained the battlefield, but every disciple on the stage is desperate. Compared to staying outside for another 3 years, they are more willing to work hard. A chance. It's chicken blood. Xie Yun next to Yi Chen drank his red face and thickened his neck. He watched a big battle and kept talking. You think it's as calm as you are. Xie Yun gave a blank look. Yi Chen's face was not angry. Tear. Xie Yun disapproved. A lot of them are participating in the outside contest for the first time, and there is a chance of resurrection. The last time I participated in the outside contest, it was called aggrieved, not the same. Yet, hearing Xie Yun's words, Yi Chen was interested. Last time you went outside, who did you lose to? Zhang Yang. Xie Yun gritted his teeth and spit out 2 words, not forgetting to glance at Ren Yangfeng's direction. He is the first true disciple of Ren Yangfeng's last term. Speaking, you tell his cousin is still an old acquaintance. Quote. Zhang Hao. Yi Chen asked tentatively. Xie Yun nodded and took a sip of wine, but he was getting more and more angry. Lao Su is not as good as him, not even as realm as he is, but it's a bit of luck. If it were not cloudy that day, Lao Su would lose. It has something to do with the weather. If you lose, you lose. It's useless. You know a fart. Xie Yun cursed and grinned. We were fighting for the last move that day, and my secret technique needed the help of the sun, but it turned out to be dark clouds, so that even half of its power was not exerted. Come out. Fate, This is all fate. Yi Chen returned the words that Xie Yun had said intact, and also had a meaningful expression on his face. Well, this is life. Xie Yun sighed, but when he looked at Huo Tang, he was gloating again. I thought I was unlucky enough. I didn't expect that Huo Tang's kid was more than me. Sad. Quote. Yi Di, is there anything worse than you? Yi Chen glanced at Huo Tang and looked at Xie Yun again. No, Huo Tang was playing against Di Sao's Kong Sao that day. He was shocking, but at the last blow, his purple gold hammer suddenly burst, and the whole person was blown up, so that Kong Sao even won the test without letting go of his last move. You said you couldn't. It's quite aggrieved. Yi Chen could not help but sighed. But he defeated Di Yangfeng's purple shirt today, and it was a bit of anger. Xie Yun said again, holding the wine gourd. Enter the inner door the next day. You must be careful of the confusion of that Kong Sao. The goods are the undead lord of the dead, and they are best at conspiracy. Oh yes, and Zuo Qiuming, the first disciple of the previous discipline, that is not a good bird. Quote. Understand. Yi Chen nodded casually. I said that this is not for fun. It was not very heartwarming to see Yi Chen Wei's big deal. Xie Yun scolded, not that you can enter the inner door if you win the outer door, and only pass the test of the barren forest. Quote. Of course I know that there are traps for trappings, monsters, crickets, and hunting by disciples inside. The problem is here. Zhang Yang, Kong Sao, and Zuo Qiuming I just said are likely to be Neiman sent to the barren forest to test our disciples. This is a shame, but if they are together, it is not for us. What a good thing. Quote. He heard that Yi Chen frowned. If Xie Yun didn't say, he really hasn't considered these things, then the three of them can stand out in the last outside competition. It must not be a good person. In addition, in the past 3 years, they have practiced in the inside, and their strength will definitely increase. The grievances between him and Liang Feng in the commandment hall, if met in the barren forest, it would be strange for him to die. Please be blessed. I hope God can divide us into a team. Xie Yun patted Yi Chen's shoulder. Yi Chen thinks the same way. The test of the barren forest is teamwork. If they can really be in a team with Xie Yun and Huo Tang, depending on their fierce strength, entering the inner door is a matter of nails. But everything is absolute. Yi Chen touched his chin. If it was unlucky, anything trivial could happen. Thinking to himself, Yi Chen set his sights on the battle platform again. The resurrection match is also longer and fiercer than he imagined. The smooth and hard battle platform has been stained with blood, and it has been hit by potty black arts. As time passed, the night gradually dissipated, and the resurrection game played for a whole night before gradually coming to an end. I won't put it on the last one again. Murmured softly, Yi Chen could not help looking up at the huge compass. Really don't say. At this look, the compass seemed to understand what he meant. Immediately, an aura fell down and fell on him unbiased, and when he looked at another person selected by aura, a sneer flashed at the corner of his mouth. Looking at the other side, the person who was going to confront Yi Chen carefully looked at it. Wasn't it the purple shirt of Di Yangfeng? Chapter 102. Sudden Change. Look at it. I know, it must be the kid in the purple shirt. Chang'an Pavilion was already noisy. In the past there was the commandment hall Yin Jiping, and later there were Yangfeng Zhonghao and Tian Yangfeng Xie Yun. This time the resurrection met Di Yangfeng purple shirt. Which one is not a top 10 true disciple? This path of Yi Chen also it's bumpy. Quote. You know the fart, it's bad luck. You can meet in the resurrection race, I have nothing to say. On the cloud, Dao Zan shook his head helplessly. Luck is also part of strength. Chu Shuaner whispered a smile, but there was no pressure to laugh, and he was confident in Yi Chen's strength. Below, listening to the discussion around, Yi Chen has slowly stepped onto the stage. He never thought that he would encounter the purple shirt that also participated in the resurrection match. Such a dramatic scene really fit his mind, at least the sullen atmosphere in his heart could be vented. Look at the purple shirt and the Qingyang real person in the clouds, that face is already ugly. In the 2 previous battles of Yi Chen, they were obvious to all. They defeated the first disciple Yin Jiping, and beat the first true biography disciple Zhonghao of Yangfeng with a severely wounded body. Yi Chen's strength is definitely above the purple shirt. Today, when I met Yi Chen on the stage, the purple shirt was almost choked out and suffered internal injuries. I can meet Yi Chen even in the resurrection game. This luck is not too good. Come on. The new hatred and the old hatred are all forgotten. Yi Chen glanced at the real man in the clouds, and then Yi Chen looked at the purple shirt below. Arrogant. Seeing Yi Chen's provocative gaze, the purple shirt couldn't make a shot, and he jumped onto the stage with a beat of his seat. Howling. As the purple shirt roared, a purple hurricane appeared, sweeping the clouds, and whistling towards Yi Chen. Yi Chen sneered. Dan Hai burst out in anger. Kai Shaojian appeared in his hand for the first time, and split a sword on, and the purple hurricane that swept away was split by him. Zhang Guangyan. Yi Chen, who had just split the purple hurricane, was confronted by a black handprint photographed by the purple shirt. Ben Lei. Immediately shot, Yi Chen slammed forward, a regretful Ben Lai palm and purple shirt regret. Boom. The palm collided with the Indian, making a thunderous sound, and the front face resisted hard. The purple shirt fell downwind and was shocked and snorted back. Shake the mountains. Yi Chen rushed up like a tiger, as if he didn't want to give the purple shirt a chance to react. Seeing this, the purple shirt rolled madly and poured into the palm of his hand, condensing an aura shield in front of him. LB. Click. This kind of voice has no prioritization. The aura of light shield that had just emerged from the purple shirt was smashed by Yi Chen in a punch, and the purple shirt that had just stabilized her shape was snorted by the boom again. You are far away from Yin Jiping. With a sneer, Yi Chen slammed a tiger closer. Seeing this, Zishan would rather resist Yi Chen's punch and quickly retreat out, knowing that Yi Chen's dominance of close combat. Naturally he won't be too close to Yi Chen, otherwise he will probably be pressed and lifted. Beginning. Sword. Flowing rock. The reaction of the purple shirt was not slow. As soon as it exited, it broke its finger and pressed it with one palm on the battle platform. Click, click. Suddenly, the battle platform trembled, and a stone sword shot suddenly from the battle platform, heading for Yi. Look at you. Yi Chen took a step back, and the Qishao sword sang in his hand, dancing by his rapid speed, and the defensive sword formation of Tianya was instantly formed. LB, LB, LB. The sound of a metal collision came immediately, and the stone sword that suddenly flew out hit the Tianjian sword formation, and was blocked as much as possible. Ling Xiao Jian Ju. The purple shirt launched another attack, and the shot was a mystery. The spirit sword in his hand blew, covered with sword-ons, and a sword pierced the air, like a sword rainbow, lingering around Lei Mang. Hum. Yi Chen rolled out his hand and took out the Tianma, blocking it in front of him. LB. It was also the harsh metal collision sound. Although Yi Chen blocked the sword of Ling Xiao, he was also shaken back by half a step. If the sword was not thick and hard this day, he would be hurt by the sword rainbow. LB, LB. The two men fought together in an instant, each with its own magical mystery. The sword in his hand screamed, the palm mystery continued, and the shadows on the battle platform were in full swing, and the battle was in full swing. Purple shirts will probably lose. Disciples below made such an assertion. Even Yin Jiping, who was stronger than him, was defeated by Yi Chen. His defeat was no suspense. All lives. Along with the argument from the audience, although the battle between the two on stage is still fierce, it has become fierce. The purple shirt was not as good as Yin Jiping, but many secret methods emerged one after another, which once made Yi Chen tired of coping, and the blood on his body continued, and he almost missed the big move of the purple shirt several times. However, compared to Yi Chen, the purple shirt's mentality is more embarrassing. His body is covered with fist marks and footprints, and there is a sound blood hole in his chest, which was shot by Yi Chen with a positive finger. What? When the battle reached nearly 200 moves, the purple shirt released a roar, and he began to fall. I don't waste time with you. After Yi Chen slashed out, then Dan Hai rolled out in a frenzy, then poured into the palm of his hand, and the deep groaning of the sound soon sounded. He's going to move that overbearing mystery again. I don't know if the purple shirt can stop it. Seeing Yi Chen's big move, the purple shirt naturally will not fall behind. His palms have been covered by aura, and Dan Tian's vitality has been taken away by him for more than half. Otherwise, enlightenment may block Yi Chen's move. Of course, just when Yi Chen was about to hit Kong Long, he frowned suddenly. He clearly felt that a raging chi was raging in his body, and his bones and meridians collided, so that the rolling chi that he gathered in the palm of his hand also collapsed because of the violent chi. Puff! At the scene, a spit of blood spewed out, which surprised the spectator. This is what happened. How did you vomit blood? How do I feel? Yi Chen's anger has become confused. Puff! In the surprise sound of the quartet, Yi Chen vomited blood again. The violent energy in that body had broken one of his meridians, and even the bones could not bear the breakage of several roots. What's worse, because of the violent energy, the vitality that made him all confused, it is difficult to condense. Blood Dan. Shu Fu, watching the battle on the cloud, narrowed his eyes slightly, and seemed to see where Yi Chen's problem was. This kid is crazy, Elder Wanbao cursed in a large voice. Don't dare to use such powerful mystery after eating Bone Dan, isn't this to death? The elder Zhou Dafu of the Lingqi Pavilion frowned. Shimei. Dao Zan really frowned, looking at Shu Zan'er aside. How could I give him Bone Dan? Chao Mei twisted her eyes together, and Shu Xuaner's face became ugly for the first time, as if she knew that Bone Dan was overbearing. On the cloud, perhaps only 3 people revealed a weird smile. They were, of course, Zhe Hong, Zhao Zhujing, and Qingyang, real people, as if they knew Yi Chen would have a problem. Come on! A roar of purple shirts was already heard on the battlefield. Although he didn't know why Yi Chen suddenly had a physical problem, how could he miss such a rare opportunity? Originally, he had to fight with a big move, because Yi Chen's anger was chaotic, and the big move also collapsed. Compared with Yi Chen, the anger he gathered reached the extreme, and the top hit was a big hit. Puff! Blood splattered the battle platform. Yi Chen flew upside down on the spot, carrying a big move of the purple shirt stiffly, and the whole body was bloody. When it fell to the battle platform, it was already a pool of blood. What the happened? Yi Chen got up from the battle platform. Yi Chen's eyes turned red, covered with bloodshot. Why is there such violent power in me? It is by no means the power of magic. Someone conspired against me. Yi Chen found the root cause and thoughts flew for a brief moment. All he could think of was the time when he was seriously injured and drowsy in Chengkan Pavilion, and someone must have moved his hands and feet. Who the is it? Yi Chen bleeds blood again, and Yi Chen's eyes are covered with cold light. He could clearly feel the violent qi in his body, which not only disturbed his qi, could not allow him to gather strength, but also rammed in his body, as if to blast his body. Jianming sounded, and the opposite purple shirt killed again. Yi Chen moved his body stiffly, blocked with a red sword, and evaded with 1,000 shadows. However, he was in poor physical condition, his body speed decreased, and even his footwork was disordered. Almost every step he took, a sword mark appeared on his body. The crisis scene at the moment was even worse in the battle with Zhang Hao. Chapter 103, Bonbon. Puff, puff, the red blood stained the battle platform. Yi Chen, who was going backwards, was so miserable that he was chased and killed. True fire, is it true that the refining of me is violent and angry? In the retrogression, Yi Chen thought, and summoned the true fire to protect his heart. Immediately, the real fire of Danhai burst out, infused into the major meridians of his body, wrapped the major bones, and then divided into countless roads and surrounded by that violent qi. After all, Junha still did not humiliate the mission, and stopped that violent anger when it was about to hit Yi Chen's heart. Immediately, the real fire showed a domineering side, and the whole envelopment was enveloped, and then it was wildly refined, and the essence obtained was poured into Yi Chen's huge Danhai. But Rao is so, Yi Chen's body is also very bad. Earlier, he carried a big move of the purple shirt stiffly, and then he was constantly injured. In addition, that infuriating broke off more than one meridian and bone, making his combat power impossible to play. Puff, puff, the purple shirt was still madly attacking, and the spirit swords in his hands were stained with blood red by Yi Chen's blood. He didn't want to give Yi Chen a little reaction time. The battle between Yi Chen and Zhang Hao was a lesson in the past. Once Yi Chen, a beast-like person, was relieved, for him, it was absolutely bad news. Sister Qi, what's going on with Yi Chen's body? Under the stage, Shang and Tang Rushuan both looked at Qi Yu. He ate the violent Bone Dan, Qi Yu said in a deep voice. As the big disciple of Ling Fu, Shu Fu, she was very sensitive to the elixir. It seemed that Yi Chen's health was so bad. Bug bone, Shang said. What kind of panacea? Bug bone is a kind of healing elixir. Qi Yu explained, and it is the best medicine in the treatment of pain, and Yi Chen's injury recovered so quickly before, it is likely to benefit from that bone, but just although such elixir is a healing elixir, it has a huge disadvantage. Quote, bad. Anyone who takes tyrannical Dan should not use too much qi, otherwise the violent qi carried by tyrannical Dan will collide with the meridians and bones in the body. A little carelessness will cause him to explode and die. I rely on it. Shang could not help but hesitated after listening to Qi Yu. This kid is crazy. I dare to eat this elixir, and dare to use my anger with it. Isn't this a death? It's not that simple. Aside, Lu Shuaner in the Tibetan book pavilion groaned and motioned to everyone to look at Yi Chen. Looking at Yi Chen's expression, obviously he didn't know the potential disadvantages of Poguden. Maybe you can say the same, Yi Chen didn't even know that he was eating Bogu Dan. Wang Lin, the first apprentice of the Ling Orchard, gave such a guess. Alternatively, Yi Chen didn't even know that he had eaten Bone Dan. Xiao Jing, an apprentice of the law enforcement court, speculated that several people's eyes were slightly narrowed. His words were very meaningful, and the people present were not stupid. This is to imply that Yi Chen was secretly calculated by others. In this way, it can be regarded as an explanation, otherwise, who would be stupid enough to eat tegu? Sister Qi, will Yi Chen be in danger? Tang Rushuan opened his eyes, and the eyes of several people were once again on Qi Yu's body. Qi Yu shook his head gently. It's hard to say that he should be taking low-grade bonbons. If it is high-grade, at the moment he uses his energy, I am afraid he has already burst into the body and died, but Rao is so, his body is extremely bad now. Quote, what else is there to fight? Fight again, Xiaoming is not guaranteed. Shang jumped up and down. With that said, the uncle jumped out and bowed his hands to the real Taoist Zan on the cloud. Elder, Yi Chen was conspired by someone. I strongly suggest that this matchup be postponed and saved first. The disciples think so too. Soon, Qi Yu and several of them stood up. However, without waiting for Dao Zan to speak, the voice of the strange yin and yang sounded. Budged by someone, a joke. It was a true disciple of Di Yangfeng who said, many elders are watching here. Who dares to hurt someone secretly? Are you brothers and sisters suggesting that the elders are blind? Quote, this is true. Ren Yangfeng also came out with a true disciple. It was Yi Chen who ate the elixir of enhancement and cultivation, and then he went into chaos. He said that everyone was secretly afraid that your brothers and sisters would not be afraid to flash their tongues. If you see and beat the test, you can pause the test. There is no such reason. A true disciple of Jialutang sneered. If it is the case, then it will be unfair. Of course, if Yi Chen concedes and suspends the test, I am no objection. Quote, less here to buckle Yi Chen's big hat. Does his strength need to take elixir to improve? Shang scolded on the spot. Who knows what he's doing? Conspiracy. I think you are guilty of being thieves. Huo Teng snorted coldly. Woteng, what do you mean? What do you mean that we secretly calculated Yi Chen? Whoever does it, who knows, why not fight? You. Enough. While many true disciples were about to roll up their sleeves and start to work, a cold drink from Dao Zan's real person was uploaded in the cloud, and the powerful coercion covered the entire Chenkin pavilion. I will never interfere in Fengyuntai. Quote, humph, humph. After being so strongly intervened by a real person from Dao Zan, the true disciples on both sides hummed each other and kept silent. Dao Zan real man glanced at the stage, then froze his beard, and when Qi Yu told them, he really had a feeling that this was not so easy. He has a bad eye. Although he has never seen Yi Chen before, but after these battles, he still has a certain understanding of Yi Chen. An iron bone disciple, how can he take tyrannical Dan? For his cultivation strength, it is necessary to take advantage of Boguden. Sister Chu, Brother Feng, what do you think of it? Dao Xuanjun looked at Chu Shuner and Feng Wuzhun beside him. There is something strange about this, and I suggest suspending the test. Feng Wuzhen said lightly. I also agree to suspend the test. Chu Xuan'er whispered. She was somewhat selfish, even if it was Yi Chen who ate it herself, but his talent still surprised her. He didn't want such a baby apprentice. Wasted. So, then pause then. After listening to Feng Wuan and Chu Xuan'er's suggestion, Dao Xuanzhen just wanted to suspend the test, but was interrupted by the voice of abusive drama. Brother Dao Zan, if you do this, you are too partial to that Yi Chen. It was Zhe Hong, the first man in Di Yangfeng, who had a vicious old face with a playful expression on his face. Zhe Hong, what do you mean by this? Being educated by Zhe Hong, Dao Zan's real man glanced at Zhe Hong, his expression suddenly gloomed. It's not interesting. Zhe Hongduan sat on the yuntai, but sneered at the words of Dao Zan. I just want to say that the head brother sent you to supervise outsiders, and you can't cheat for personal gain. Brother Zhe said. The real man Qingyang on the side also said, so many disciples are watching, and because of an unfounded conspiracy, the test is suspended, which is too childish. Immediately after Qingyang's discourse ended, Zhao Zhujing glanced at Dao Zan, and the strange voice of Yin and Yang immediately sounded. I have no objection to the suspension of the test, but only if Yi Chen first concedes. The three old guys were stunned and quite forced to fight against the palace. They all avenged Yi Chen at this moment. It's no wonder that Yi Chen didn't try hard enough to die. Here, Dao Zan's face was gloomy again. Although he was the elder who supervised the outside door, after all, it was not him who had the final say. A plot without evidence. Rao was him. Yi Chen, let it go. Chu's honor on the side did not wait for the real person to make a decision. Even if you lose today, you are still my Chu Zan's apprentice. Chapter 104, Burning Sky. Concede. Hearing Chu Xuan'er's words, Yi Chen took a step back, but never gritted his teeth. He can admit defeat to Xie Yun, but he will not admit defeat to the purple shirt, the stubbornness in his bones, so that he also has his share of arrogance, admit defeat to friends without shame, admit to the enemy, that is the shame of life. Puff, puff. The purple shirt was like a crazy dog. The shot was a killing move. Yi Chen was and bloody, but he didn't mean to stop. Yi Chen's form was scary enough. Blood and bones were exposed in many places on his body, sword marks and blood cloaks were all over it, and a face that was originally beautiful had become fuzzy and flesh. I thought this was not a person, but Shira who climbed out of hell. At this moment, many female disciples in the audience could not help covering their eyes. Such scenes had made them unable to look directly. Don't fight. Seeing that Yi Chen didn't respond, Chu Xuan'er, who was sitting on the cloud, stood up suddenly, no longer laughing, but rather solemn, standing in the cloud like a 9-day fairy, peerless. The divine posture also has the majesty of the strong. Master, Chu Zan's apprentice will not be a puppet. In this battle, Yi Chen will never die. Yi Chen spoke after all. Although the words were flat, toasting in Chengkan Pavilion never dissipated. In a word, Chu Xuan'er trembled and stupidly stumbled there. For more than a century of spiritual practice, she confessed that her heart had fallen into peace, but now a word has made her have to be moved. The figure is particularly striking in her eyes, and it is now engraved in her heart. Boom! There was a roar again on the battlefield, and Yi Chen, who receded, flew out with a purple shirt, and it was already a pool of blood until he hit the battlefield. Shaking up, Yi Chen spurted blood, and the whole body was extremely bad from the inside to the outside. It was a miracle for him to hit the purple shirt to the present. I can't be defeated. In a word, blood poured out of his mouth. Until then, he was still looking for ways to defeat. No one can lose to him. You can lose at any time, but this battle cannot be defeated. Suddenly, a crazy idea came into his mind, which seemed to make him find a little light in the dark night. Wilderness. He thought of this overbearing mystery. It is not only a secret method of refining the body, but also a healing method. While tempering the body, it can also restore injuries, connect bones and meridians. When he first discovered the mystery of the barbaric refinement, he was still after the firewhip of the commandment hall. From that time, he knew that the so-called barbaric refining body is not only for tempering the body, but also for its hegemonic ability to heal. He was wounded and healed again and again, thanks to this secret method. This was indeed a crazy idea, and he didn't even dare think about it. He knows the pain of the wild barren body better than anyone else. Refining bones and extracting bones, forging tendons and building veins, burning heart and quenching blood, dermabrasion filing, and simple 16 characters are the best interpretation of it. It is more scary pain than Ling Chi's torture. Bearing range. Now, he is going to use this secret method to heal his body and heal the wounds, and at the same time he has to deal with the attack of the purple shirt. This is not crazy. However, he was really driven to an end, and the only thing that he could rely on was the mystery of the wild body. He could only think of this crazy method. As for the consequences of doing so, he didn't dare to think about it. The barren refining body, help me fight. A murmur lingered in his heart, and his thoughts followed, and the secret method of the barren refining body worked immediately. Click it, click it. Immediately, a rattling sound of a bone collision sounded in his body, and the section of bone began to break inch by inch, and then continued slowly after the break, and then broke again during the connection. So reciprocating, the bones continued to form and break. What? Yi Chen screamed in his teeth, his blue forehead was exposed, and his dark eyes were bloodshot all over his eyes. The whole body seemed to have tens of steel needles piercing the whole body, every bone and every inch of skin, as if torn. General. But the pain of refining comes with its overbearing ability. It can be seen that while refining the body and evading Yi Chen, who was attacked by the purple shirt, blue smoke was emitted from the blood stains, and the wound was healing. Not only that, the bones and meridians in his body are also undergoing hardening. The broken bones are connected, the broken meridians are connected again, the abandoned flesh and blood on the surface is discarded, and new flesh and blood is born. Okay, this weird scene was captured by Dao Xuanzhen. His old eyes were stunned, staring at Yi Wei's weird changes. When he saw the scary scene in Yi Chen's body, Rao was his fixation, and his forehead couldn't help oozing cold sweat. Is this kid crazy? Even Dao Xuanzhen himself never realized that his words were trembling, and he didn't know how disoriented his expression was at this time. However, at this moment, whoever has time to see him, the elders' eyes are staring at Yi Chen, and those old eyes are full of horror. It is the secret technique of refining. The wind, which has always been whispered, murmured without any trace. It is a crazy little guy. In such a crisis, it is dare to bear the pain of refining. Quote, if you don't have a big name this day, it won't make sense for the heavens. Wanbao Pavilion swore loudly. Treat yourself enough, domineering. I haven't seen such a crazy kid for many years. Shu Fu also sighed. I can feel your pain, your persistence and madness, shocked the division. Yi Chen, on the battle platform, made Shu Zan'er look a little intoxicated, and moved her heart. Yi Chen was the first. Compared with these old guys, the disciples who watched the battle around the stage were all horrified, and Yi Chen's tenacious vitality shocked them. None of them knew what Yi Chen was doing at this time. What they saw was that the wounds on Yi Chen dragging his wounded body still fighting, and the bloodshot eyes were firm except for madness. What did Yi Chen do, and how can I look so weird? He looks scary. It's been so long. Is he an unbeatable Xiaoqiang? Puff, puff. The bright red blood cast a **** veil on the battle platform. Yi Chen, who had suffered the double pains of refining and purple shirt attack, was still trying to avoid it. What? The purple shirt was full of eyes. Yi Chen was like a fire in the dark in his eyes, but he couldn't put it out, which made him completely crazy. Yi Chen, why aren't you dead? A growl again. Healing Tian broke down with a sword. Chapter 105, Defeat. Puff. Blood splattered on the battle platform and was extremely dazzling. The purple shirt was slashed on Yi Chen's shoulder, but he was unable to cut off Xi Chen's arm, but was stuck by the hard bone. Boom. Kicked open the purple shirt, Yi Chen stumbled back. Are you still dead this time? Growled. The purple shirt rushed again, his palms covered with thunder and lightning, and a palm hit Yi Chen's chest. Puff. Yi Chen spurted blood again and retreated. Dead. You die for me. Why are you still dead? The purple shirt froze his face, rushed up again, and went mad, and thunder slammed into the palm of Yi Chen. Puff, puff. Yi Chen was wounded one after another, the blood swelled and vomited, and the backward figure couldn't stop the purple shirt's wild attack. Such a scene, the audience watching the audience cannot bear to look directly. Shimei, if you fight again, you are really going to kill someone. At this moment, Rao Shishuan real man couldn't bear to look at it anymore, and had to look at Chu Shuaner next to him. The light of Chu Shuaner's beautiful eyes became uncertain, and her heart seemed to be struggling with her eyes. She knew that to stop the war at this time was undoubtedly to let Yi Chen admit defeat. She even knew that letting Yi Chen admit defeat was crueler than killing him, but that was her apprentice, and he watched him die. It really hurts. You're really going to give the master a hard problem. Left and right, she always calmed down and didn't know what to do. He is a stubborn little guy, and his belief is equally obsessive. Once a person like him, he will bet everything, even his own life. Groaned. Chu Zan was silent, but she tried to get up several times, and she was crushed by her. On the one side, Shu Fu, who was also secretly considering, rubbed his beard, and seemed to be wandering for a certain decision. Explain Yi Chen's identity as an alchemist. Shu Fu muttered to himself. He understood the importance of an alchemist, and even knew that if Daoshuan real people knew the identity of Yi Chen's alchemy, it would be Zhe Hong. Against it, he will also step in strongly. But what are the consequences of doing so? Shu Fu struggles with the consequences of this. Although he hasn't been with Yi Chen for a long time, he knows Yi Chen's nature. He is a stubborn child. He also has his pride and will never be because of his alchemy master. The identity caused Zongman to forcibly terminate the duel because of his talents. If that's the case, maybe it's more uncomfortable than killing him. Shu Fu muttered again and fell into thought. Compared to a few of them, Zhe Hong, Qingyang Zhenren, and Zhao Zhujing smiled ruthlessly. They really hope that Yi Chen will not admit defeat, because in this way, the purple shirt can kill on the stage brightly without being punished by Zongman. The grievances of the past let them enjoy the war below as if enjoying it. An injury is a rare pleasure for them. Puff. On the stage, a frantic purple shirt pierced Yi Chen's body again with a sword hole, then knocked Yi Chen out 3 or 4 feet away with one palm. This time, it's hard for him to get up again. The audience whispered, no one knew. It's so bad that it's strange to get up. But even then, he is enough to be proud, and even if he loses, he won't be ashamed. Are you still dead this time? On the stage, Zishan gasped heavily, but smiled sternly. From then on, the discussions came quickly, and the battlefield became deadly silent around, with all eyes looking at the battlefield without exception, fixed on the figure. 10. Someone shouted, breaking the silence on the scene. You, fuck. Seeing this, Shang grabbed his mace on the spot and rushed to Di Yangfeng, but was stopped by Qi Yu. 9. The next voice was extraordinarily vast. Di Yangfeng's disciples stood up, each raising their arms and shouting, not forgetting to provoke their eyes at Shang. 8. This shouted. The momentum was particularly great, because Ren Yangfeng's disciples also stood up. 7. The shouting voice became a tide, and the disciples of the discipline also joined in. The practice of Ren Yangfeng, Diongfeng and Jiatangtang is very obvious. This is counting down Yi Chen. If Yi Chen hasn't stood up, it means that he lost the match, and it means he was disqualified from entering the inside door, which meant that Yi Chen bet on everything just to deceive himself. Let's kill them and beat them. Shang yelled from the stage. However, Huo Teng and they did not move, and their faces were gloomy and scary. If the outside door allowed them to kill the puppets in the past, would they have to wait until now? 6. Everyone was silent. Ren Yangfeng, Di Yangfeng, and the disciples of disciples shouted again with their throats, and the pair of grinning smiles rushed to the stage to tear Yi Chensheng into pieces. 5. 4. 3. The 3 disciples really shouted louder than loudly. Hey! At this moment, too many people sighed, and secretly said Yi Chen's tragedy. He thought that he could easily enter the inner door with his strength, but he never thought that the world would change, and he was repeatedly frustrated. After a switch, they still failed miserably. It's not as good as the sky. Too many people lament the goodness of this word. On the stage, the purple shirt raised his chin high, as if he enjoyed the countdown sound. He seemed to be all in one, and the evil of the three families was attributed to him. There was a feeling of flying. In the air, Chu Zan has stood up, waiting for the last minute to rush to the battle platform to help Yi Chen heal. 2. The high-pitched voices of the three disciples climbed to the highest level, ringing through the entire door of Heng Yizong. Aren't you awesome? Without rushing to the countdown, Di Yangfeng's disciples drank bitterly. Someone will stand up and fight again. Ren Yangfeng's disciples also vented their anger with impunity. It's a big joke to die. The disciples of the Jifengtang roared hysterically. At this moment, Yi Chen was like a person who was scolded by thousands of people. He was humble and humiliated. In the clouds, Dao Zan looked at the ugly faces of Yang Feng, Di Yongfeng and Jia Lu Tang, his face suddenly gloomy to the extreme, and gave a cold glance at the three Zhe Hongs. 3. The apprentices you brought out are this kind of education. Quote. Brother Dao Zan said, they just felt it. Although being preached, Zhe Hong still showed a playful smile. Children who were wrong. The silent wind had no trace, and said coldly, without showing mercy to the three. It is kingly to win. The three glanced at the wind without a trace and snorted. Even my apprentice, even if she loses light. With a cold voice, Chu Xuaner has stepped up. Although Yi Chen lost, she doesn't want her apprentice to suffer all kinds of abuse. He is not a sinner, why should he suffer blamelessness? However, just as she was about to step down the cloud, her raised jade foot was settled in the air, because the ***** figure on the battle platform stood up stiffly again. Looking at that dazzling scene, Chu Xuaner subconsciously covered her slightly opened jade mouth. This boy. At this moment, both Dao Xuanzhen and Xu Fu couldn't help but stand up, looked horribly down, and fixed his eyes on the ***** Yi Chen. How is this possible? Zhe Hong, Qingyang Zhenren, and Zhao Zhujing stood up suddenly, their expressions full of shock. It is good. It is good. Below, the tide-like cheers have already sounded. Compared with them, the disciples of Ren Yangfeng, Di Yangfeng and Jialutang became extremely ugly. This is possible, this is impossible. Obviously, the purple shirt on the stage stood out and couldn't believe the scene in front of him. I bet everything, why did you let me lose? As Yi Chen's hoarse voice sounded, he slowly raised his ***** face, his ***** eyes, and all that was revealed was the victory. Light of Faith. Chapter 106, Towering. Kill. With a hysterical roar, the purple shirt pounced on like a demon, and screamed with a big seal in the palm of his hand, trying to knock Yi Chen down again. War. This time, Yi Chen didn't dodge and retreat, but killed him with a strong force. Since the violent infuriating spirit was refined, although his wounds have suffered everywhere, his breath has leveled off. The overwhelming resilience of the wild refining body has also allowed his combat power to slow down under his constant hard support. Slow recovery. Although his combat strength recovered less than 50%, and his wounds left him with only half his life, he had the capital to deal with the purple shirt. Boom. With one blow, Yi Chen was beaten back. Thunder Palm. Opposite, the purple shirt killed again. Shake the mountains. Yi Chen, who had just stabilized his shape, did not retreat and moved forward. He shook the mountain with a punch, and the belief of victory would make him fearless. The resurgence of the war, both were crazy. Yi Chen, who stood up again, is like a lion who has been asleep and awakening for thousands of years. Although it has fallen down, it is very powerful. The wild body is still running. The pain of tearing makes him forget the pain. Just attack and then attack. Zhang Guangyan, Ben Lei Palm, Jing Shao Jian Ju. Tiana sword formation. Once started, the two started a mysterious confrontation. Puff, puff, the ***** side of the war. This time, not only Yi Chen was hurting, but also the purple shirt was constantly wounded, because Yi Chen's attack was basically a life-for-life game. He hit Yi Chen with a punch, but also suffered Yi Chen's palm. He stabbed Yi Chen, and next time he would face Yi Chen. Yi Chen's body is like this, still such a life-threatening play. The bottom was full of surprise. You said it all. Your body is so bad, how bad it can be. Even if he wins this battle, he is mostly disabled. Roar, roar. I do not know when the beast roared on the battle platform. Yes, Yi Chen has again used his domineering melee combat technique. Every part of the whole body has become a combat weapon. Every time he makes a shot, he will be accompanied by the deep and thick roar of the beast. What? The roar of the purple shirt rang through the audience, and he stood up, but at the moment he was the suppressed party. He could feel that although Yi Chen's breath was weakening, the horrific warfare rose sharply. Such tenacious vitality makes the purple shirt go crazy, a person who has been defeated by himself again and again, but stands up again and again, such a difficult person, he encountered for the first time in his life. Look at the 3 disciples who shouted and shook Genshin before, and now they are all green. Looking at their master again, his face also became extremely gloomy from a playful smile, and Yi Chen stood up again. This was naked. They hit their faces naked. It's disgusting to ignore Bone's backbite. Zhe Hong's eyes were fierce, and he gritted his teeth. What the asterisk is this kid? Zhao Zhujing's teeth also itched. Why did you stand up because of such a serious injury? Xingyang's face turned pale, and the fist in his sleeve gripped. Looking at the changing faces of the 3 men, Dao Xuanzhen was as refreshed as ever. Shimei, his presence made me think of someone. Aside, Feng Wuzhen said something intentionally or unintentionally, and the words were quite profound. The brother said the Sword King. Withdrawing his eyes from the battle platform, Chu Xuaner looked sideways to the wind without trace. Hearing the words, the wind nodded and nodded gently. Yi Chen's temperament is too similar to him. The talents of the 2 men are comparable. If they are young, there are 3 cases in Dachu no 1 palace. Yi Chen's little baby can be compared with it. In that year, when Dongling Guyuan battled, the elder of the 9 bloodthirsty palace that he killed alone returned to the elders, feathers, deserving the name of the Sword Emperor. Quote, I just don't know if the man who lives in the world is still alive. Chu Xuaner sighed and raised the Sword Emperor. In addition to the awe in her beautiful eyes, there was an interesting admiration. It's all at the end of the crossbow. Chu Xuaner meditated, and the wind moaned without a trace. Upon hearing this, Chu Xuaner hurriedly looked down at the platform. On the battlefield, Yi Chen, the purple shirt wobbled. At the end of the war, the scenes of the battle between Yi Chen and Zhang Hao were reproduced. The 2 men were exhausted. There was no more energy in the body to mobilize, and they were unable to perform any kind of mystery. But Rao is so, both of them are still rushing towards each other, they don't use their vitality, and some only have the most primitive hand-to-hand combat. You give me a punch, I give you a palm, and you give me a kick, I return you a leg. Boom! With one blow, the 2 fell to the ground. On one side, the purple shirt was shaved and covered with eyes, like a ghost. On one side, Yi Chen was so and that the battle was still there. At this moment, everyone was holding their breath. Although such a scene has been seen during the battle between Yi Chen and Zhang Hao, the real look is still eye-catching. The battle has hit now, and at this time, it really begins. In the spotlight, the purple shirt stood up staggeringly, and pulled out the slanting sword. On the other side, Yi Chen also crawled up and pulled out the blood-stained Qishao. Kill, war, the hissing sounded, and the 2 held their swords and swayed to kill each other step by step. Behind them were a series of blood-colored footprints. At this moment, everyone's heart mentioned his throat. Under the scrutiny of the 2 were less than a mile away, and also under the scrutiny, the 2 raised their long swords in any order. Puff, puff, blood splattered in succession. A purple shirt Yi pierced through Yi Chen's body, Yi Chen Yijian pierced through the purple shirt's chest. At this moment, all people are silent. On the battle platform, the 2 were standing still, like 2 stone statues. Quiet, surprisingly quiet, everyone held their breath and stared intently at the platform. After all, someone on the battlefield moved. It was Yi Chen, who lifted the arm stubbornly, pushed the purple shirt away weakly. The purple shirt stepped back, and finally he didn't want to fall down, but he lay on his back on the battlefield. No, it's impossible. Without saying a word, blood came out of Zishan's mouth, staring at Yi Chen's eyes, gradually becoming blurred, and soon fell into a fainting. On the battle platform, Yi Chen stunned for a moment, but he did not fall. He still had the killing sword in his body. His body was covered with blood and long black messy hair, covering half of his face. In such a scene, he was shocked. He looked like a statue and stood there like that without ever falling. "What kind of person are you?" murmured. Chi Yu's face was a little pale, and her expression could no longer be described in words. How could she think of the intern disciple who looked down on that day and challenged her shocking bottom line again and again? Outside the door, "You deserve it," Xie Yun, who has always been unscrupulous, also murmured, and his face was no longer drunk. "If we are in the same realm with him, we will undoubtedly lose it." Huo Teng and Xiao Jing were ashamed of each other. A disciple who seriously injured Ningxi could only play 50% of the combat power, but defeated one leg. True disciples who step into the realm of the sun, they confess that if they did, they would never do it. Why? Those disciples who had grudges with Yi Chen, gnashed their teeth one by one, and looked distorted. Yi Chen's current record made them unable to see any chance of a comeback. The idea of killing is too heavy, and it will be difficult to achieve a positive result. Su Xinyue's breath became undulating, and her evaluation of Yi Chen was still the same sentence, and she could not tolerate Yi Chen above Chi Hao. "Yi Chen, I won again. I didn't know who," and muttered. This was an extremely duel. The original end was no suspense, but it was counterattacked by Yi Chen Jedi. He bet everything on him, and he won brightly, but he won miserably and tragically. "Are we old?" The Vast Sea and Zhou Fafu murmured to each other. "Oh my God, are you still punishing me for my wrong choice that day?" After Zhang Laodao bowed his head, he clenched his heart fiercely. He will surely lead a new era in his years. Dao Zan Real Man frowned his beard, and was relieved. "This time the outside comparison gave me the dawn of the new era." "How is this possible?" "It's impossible." Zhe Hong and Qingyang's real people were bloodshot, and their expressions could be described as fierce. Yi Chen's rise step by step has once made them regret it, but they are high above them. They cannot tolerate others to challenge their majesty, and they cannot tolerate themselves looking away, even if at this time they do not want to admit that their choice of the day is wrong. I don't know if it is regret or anger, which makes them better at killing Yi Chen. In the sound of the argument, a breeze blowing across the platform, the standing Yi Chen, after all, fell to the sky, but Chu Xuaner, who was rushed, was in his arms. Chapter 107. Great Ending. The 3-day and 2-night outside door ended, and everyone walked out of Chengkan Pavilion one after another. This year's outside contest may not be the most exciting one in Hengyu's history, but the worst since Hengyu's founding, and a conscientious intern disciple has written an immortal legend with his strong faith. Since then, Yi Chen's name is destined to be imprinted in the heart by too many people. Of course, there are both joys and worries in this outdoor. Although the disciples participating in this outdoor contest have a chance to be resurrected, the disciples still abound, just like Yin Jiping and Zhang Hao, who were disabled by Yi Chen, could not even participate in the resurrection match. Just like the purple shirt, defeated by half-dead Yi Chen in the resurrection match, he was also disqualified from entering the inner door. Too many people boasted about it. The last time the outside door was big, the three of them failed to enter the inside door because they encountered a strong enemy. That was their bad luck. But this time, also bad luck. Everyone shook their heads. Yin Jiping lost miserably, Zhang Hao and Zishan were defeated, and they were defeated by the half-dead Yi Chen. This is no longer a matter of luck. This defeat is also doomed. You have to stay outside for another 3 years. Naturally, there are good luck, like Chi Hao, Su Xinyue, and Shang Er's wife Tang Rushuan. Although their strength is not very strong, they have encountered weak opponents all the way. Even without playing in the resurrection, they got the opportunity to enter the inner door. Compared with each other, people have to sigh fortune. At this moment, Yi Chen, a famous figure on the outside, is in Lingdan Pavilion. In the inner hall of Lingdan Pavilion, there is a 3-foot-long wooden barrel full of dim psychic fluids, which is made by mixing hundreds of elixir, and Yi Chen sits cross-legged inside. Every scar on his body is shocking. It hurts too much. Shu Fu has scratched his beard more than once. Fortunately, sister, you protected his heart. This kid is too messy. Although Chu Xuaner looked awful, but her eyes were filled with joy, and she was shocked by Yi Chen, who was outside the door. I couldn't find it with the lantern. I don't know if I can wake up before entering the barren forest to test. Caressing his sleeves, Shu Fu took out 2 more jade bottles, poured the spiritual fluid inside into the barrel, and said intentionally or unintentionally, I heard that some of the Nemenists who were near the barren forest to test the disciples outside were waiting for Yi Chen to settle accounts. Quote, Brother, you heard that too. Zhang Yang's first disciple Zhang Hao's cousin Zhang Yang, Di Yangfeng's first true disciple Kong Sao and Zuo Chu Ming, the first disciple of the last door of the Outlaw Commandment Hall, all 3 are genuine. In the realm of the sun, wouldn't it be blame if Chen Chen had died when he entered the barren forest? This is just the 3 of them, if you add the disciples of the top 100 people in the realm of the realm. Quote, Chu Shuaner had rubbed his eyebrows subconsciously, and it was quite a headache to hear Shu Fu said, it's just that this kid has caused too many enemies and they are miraculously together. This is just the point. He passed the difficulty of the barren forest test as several times more difficult than that of other disciples. Without entering the inner door, it has become the target of major blows. This apprentice, quote, doesn't the younger sister have any feelings for the first time? It feels like there is an extra oil bottle. My sister and I are free to get used to it. If you add a restless apprentice, it's a bit uncomfortable to say. Click it, click it. The 2 were talking, there was a click in the barrel. On hearing the sound, the 2 looked sideways, and both eyes narrowed at the same time. The sound of that bar sounded naturally from Yi Chen's body, and I don't know why. The barren refining mystery he practiced turned out to work on his own. The refining was synchronized with the healing. This is not to be counted. Because of the operation of the wild desolate body, he was full of gas, and the broken wound was constantly healing, and the psychic fluid in the barrel also turned into pure power through his whole body. Various pores penetrated into his body, nourishing his injured muscles and bones. It's that weird trick again. Staring at Yi Chen, Shu Fu groaned. Both he can refine his body and heal his wounds. He is relying on this secret method to resist the bone pill. Chu Shuaner also groaned, looking at Yi Chen, her beautiful eyes full of profound eyes. In the barrel Yi Chen really made her more and more unsightly. This kid isn't easy. Shu Fu rubbed his beard, and his eyes were expressing profound meaning. Next, the speed of Yi Chen's recovery. Rao Shu and Chu Zan, 2 centuries-old guys, couldn't help showing surprise, and the whole wound was fully recovered in less than a day. Moreover, the nourishment of the spiritual fluid in the body and the barrel, his breath became more vigorous, rising from the 9th weight of the condensate to the peak of the condensate, and it was only 1 step to become a monk in the realm of the people. It's the first time I've practiced for 100 years, and I've seen a little guy with such terrible resilience. Standing in front of a wooden barrel, watching Yi Chen's breath became more vigorous, Chu Shuaner sighed more than once. No matter how strong the resilience is, it is better than that of the mysterious spirit. Although Shu Fu was also amazed by Yi Chen's resilience, when he mentioned the mysterious spirit, he shook his head helplessly, as if he knew the mysterious spirit. The horror of the spirit body. Hearing that, Chu Zan frowned and moved her eyes from Yi Chen to Shu Fu. Brother, what do you think about the body of Zan Ling? Xuanling body, I heard all the legends that are undefeated. Shu Fu sighed, and there was a lot of surprise in his tone. How many years have passed? The mysterious body has actually reappeared, but it just happened. It's not from our Heng Yizong. Honestly, when I heard the news, I was also shocked. If I hadn't inserted the news from the inside of the Zhengyang Zong, I am afraid we would still be blinded until the 3rd case. In the drum, the mysterious body was born, which is a variable. The future pattern of Dachu may also change because of her. Quote, having said that, Shu Fu stopped for a moment, scratched his beard, and continued, I have researched a little bit about the mysterious body, and found that people with such bloodlines have almost no weaknesses. Once they move, the power of heaven and earth is the invincible existence of the same rank. Quote, invincible at the same level. Chu Zan's eyes flashed fiercely, and he looked tentatively at Shu Fu. Is there really a powerful body of Zan Ling? Shu Fu nodded gently. Ancient legend, mysterious body, I have never heard of defeat. Is it as strong as the Sword Emperor? And if you encounter a mysterious body in the same realm, you will lose. The Sword Emperor is indeed a rare man for thousands of years, but if he encounters the mysterious body in the same realm, he will probably lose more than win. Shu Fu said as he found a chair and sat down. The spirit body, Rao is him, could not help but appear awe in his eyes. This legendary powerful bloodline, with talented supernatural powers and mysterious divine possessions, is no longer what we can imagine. Hearing Shu Fu's high appraisal of Zan Ling's body again, Chu Xuaner looked a little dignified. I just hope that the 3 cases will be better. I Heng Yizong will not lose too badly, Shu Fu said suddenly. Speaking, Shu Fu didn't forget to glance at Yi Chen in the barrel and shook his head helplessly with a sigh. These little boys are born at an untimely time. Being together with Zan Ling's body for an era has already doomed them. My life is just a foil. Quote, hey, Chu Zan was helpless, and some just sighed. However, if you let them know that Jining Shuang, the body of Zhengyang sect, is his former lover of Yi Chen, I don't know what the two will look like. Chapter 108. Arranged Marriages. Late at night, Lingtan Pavilion. The huge wooden barrel trembled, and the essence of the spiritual fluid inside was absorbed by Yi Chen, leaving only a bucket of water. Suddenly, Yi Chen opened her eyes slowly, and the stale air came out for a long time. The dark eyes were deeper and restrained than before, and the pale color on her face disappeared, glorious. Where is this? After shaking his head, Yi Chen found himself in a wooden barrel. However, before he had the next move, a jade hand had grabbed his clothes from behind and lifted him up unceasingly. And then, he was thrown to the ground, and the whole big character was stuck on the ground. It was naturally Chu Xuaner who raised him, and felt Yi Chen woke up, and she appeared here for the first time. On the ground, Yi Chen had been embarrassedly climbing up, gray-faced and shameless, with a black line on his forehead and messy meals, but as soon as he turned around, he saw Chu Xuaner who was looking at him with a smile. Ha ha ha, Yi Chen, who was about to explode the last moment, saw Chu Xuaner, and he smiled on the spot. He didn't want to be beaten, it was better to be honest. Awake, Chu Xuaner's mouth twirled a charming smile with her arms around her chest, and looked at Yi Chen with interest. Wake up, woke up. Yi Chen smiled when he touched the tip of his nose. Whenever he saw Chu Xuaner's expression, he would have a bad hunch, maybe he would be kicked out next time and slammed. You were beautiful this time. All right. Okay. Yi Chen coughed, thinking that the outside door was bigger than the last battle. He did have some waywardness, he was almost physically disabled, and almost even got into his life. Next time, dare to come back like this, be careful I'll hit you. Chu Xuaner looked at Yi Chen with a smile. Yi Chen nodded hurriedly. Don't look at Chu Zan's smile. What she said was an understatement, and she looked beautiful, but she was very sturdy, and he absolutely believed that he could be pulled out at any moment. Little guy, can you tell me where you learned the secret technique of refining? The voice sounded, and Shu Fu, holding the dust, slowly walked out of the inner hall until he was settled, and his face was quite meaningful. Looking at Yi Chen. Why, elder, are you interested? Yi Chen blinked. Crap, Shu Fu stared with a beard, and even Chu Zanner cast a curious look. Both of them know that it was Yi Chen who used the overbearing refining technique to carry the backbones of Beggar Dan. Such an overbearing refining technique is that they are an old man who has practiced for 100 years and cannot help thinking see it. Kiki. Staring at the two old guys, Yi Chenggen coughed. Well, it doesn't work if you want to see it, but you can't just look at it for free. You know that for a monk, a secret method is not something that can be shown to others casually. Quote. After that, Yi Chen shook her head and looked at the starry sky. Here, Shu Fu's old face is already dark. Chu Xuaner is pulling his sleeves, quite rushing to slam Yi Chen's posture. Your kid will be quite a lot. Yi Di, show the master your secret technique, and still want some benefits. After all, Shu Fu still held Chu Xuaner, who was about to explode. It's true to think about it, there is no reason why people and children can show others casually. Take it. Shu Fu's face became more and more black, but after all, he took out a purple elixir from his sleeve. Once the elixir is taken out, it emits a strong medicinal scent with green cloud lingering on it. The most important thing is that the two Dan lines on the elixir are exceptionally clear. Needless to say, it is Erwin Lingdon. Already. Here, Yi Chen has taken Ling Dan and sniffed fiercely in front of her nose, only feeling that her whole body was unobstructed, and there was a kind of refreshing and comfortable from the soul. This elixir is really good. With a smile, Yi Chen greedily sucked in the strong scent of the green elixir. Boy, you can take it out. Shu Fu glanced at Yi Chen angrily. If you let me know that you lied to us, you look good. Chu Shuner also looked at Yi Chen with a smile. Glancing at Shu Fu's darkened face and Chu Shuner's groaning cheek, Yi Chen hurriedly took the elixir, and Ma Lu took out a scroll, otherwise God knew what these old guys would make nonsense. Things come faster. Ma Lu. Hey, that's it. Yi Chen handed over the scroll, and the moment Shu Fu took the scroll, the uncle quickly dragged it away from Shu Fu's waist token. Elder Shu, watch it slowly. After pulling away Shu Fu's token, Yi Chen rushed out of the lobby for fear that Shu Fu would catch him back. Little bunny, Shu Fu cursed, but still hurriedly set his eyes on the scroll in his hand. Even Chu Shuner stopped paying attention to Yi Chen and came forward curiously. The scrolls were spread out, and the neatly printed small characters appeared in the eyes of the two. This is a copy written by Yi Chen. Is this for people to practice? It's a mystery of suicide. Soon, Shu Fu's eyes widened suddenly, his pupils shrunk to the size of the needle tip, and his eyes were full of incredible looks. Which lunatic created such a perverted refining technique? After seeing the wild refining technique, Chu Shuner was also shocked, and Jade could not help but cover his half-opened jade mouth. Refining bones and extracting bones, calcining tendons and veins, burning heart and quenching blood, grinding skin and filing meat. Although the 16 words are short, it is enough to explain the true meaning of the wild desolate body, the hegemony of the wild desolate body, and the pain to be suffered. Rao is shocked by the 2 centuries-old old guys who have been practicing Shu's honor and Shu Fu. What is this boy practicing? This is the secret technique of refining. Suddenly, Shu Fu couldn't help but look at the direction where Yi Chen left, his old face was full of shock. Chu Shuner also turned his cheeks and followed Yi Chen's direction. A strange look appeared in her beautiful eyes. Refining bones and extracting bones, forging tendons and building veins, burning heart and quenching blood, dermabrasion and filing of meat, such a high-handed practice of body-building exercises, once in operation, the pain is even worse than torture. With a firm mind, no one in his generation can compare. While resisting the backstab of Bonebreaker Dan, he also suffered a severe pain from tearing himself. This boy is really a hard bone. On the one side, Shu Fu's sigh was shocked. I'm going back to the inner door first. Chu Shuner pursed her lips and said that she had already raised her feet. Sister May, don't go. Shu Fu, who reacted from the shock, hurried forward, holding Chu Shuner. Brother, is something wrong? Chu Shuner stopped and looked at Shu Fu with some doubt. Actually, it's not a big deal. Shu Fugan laughed, and then he put his hands in his sleeves. Then he coughed and said, I don't know how my sister feels like Yuyu. Wen Yan said that Chu Shuner was a little surprised. Shimei, you think, if you get Yuer and Yi Chen together, what a look. Shu Fu moved forward, smiling mysteriously. Get together. What do you mean? That, to be more straightforward, put them both on a bed. As soon as this word came out, Chu Shuner's eyes widened, which made him understand what Shu Fu wanted to do. This was to assign Chi Yuexu to her baby apprentice Yi Chen. Put it on a bed, isn't that a men and women? The dual practice of men and women is a common occurrence in the monk world. On the one hand, it can enhance the relationship, and on the other hand, it can also help the dual practice. Many male and female monks choose to practice this way with less effort. Chu Shuner did not expect that Shu Fu would pull Chi Yu and Yi Chen together. As a teacher, she seemed to have never considered finding a daughter-in-law for her baby apprentice. All right, if this is done, she will not only be a master, but also Chi Yu's mother-in-law. Suddenly, Chu Shuner's mind came up with such a picture, that is, today, next year, maybe Chi Yu can give her a fat and chubby baby, that little chubby face, if you touch it, I don't feel it great. Thinking of this, Chu Shuner is as innocent as a girl, and he smirks. Shimei, seeing Chu Shuner only smirked, Shu Fu's palm shook in front of her eyes. Aware of her disability, Chu Shuner smiled awkwardly and hurriedly asked, your family has no opinion. This sister is assured, I'll talk to you or there. Shu Fu scratched his beard. Look at Yi Chen at your house. The kid is not a fuel-saving lamp. If he doesn't want to do it, he will be old if he is old. He dares. Chu Shuiner rubbed his jade fist, showing his sturdy side, which was really out of proportion to her heavenly appearance. Brother, this is the case, he dared to say nothing, see if I am not flattening him. With that, Chu Shuiner stepped out of Wuliangjung in 3 or 2 steps, out of Lingdan Pavilion. Then came her smirking laughter, I will enter the cave this year, hold a fat doll next year, give birth to 1 year later, regenerate 1 year after year, 1 year, a fat little baby, hee hee. Listening to Chu Zan's whispering whisper, Shu Fu, who was still in the inner hall, could not help but twitch the corner of his mouth. I sent Shu Shu to match your family Yi Chen to make you play as a child. I don't know, when Chi Yu heard Chu Zan's mutter, it would be a stern expression. I also don't know what reaction they would have when Yi Chen and Chi Yu knew that their master was organizing a marriage for them. Chapter 109, Ancient Under the Cliff. Out of Lingdan Pavilion, Yi Chen trot all the way to Lingsao Garden. Unlike the previous few times, this time, he did not hear the sound of the disciple named Li San and the female disciple, and perhaps Li San was so lightly beaten in the outside contest that he was lying what about the sickbed. Without paying attention to these things, Yi Chen entered the gate of Lingsao Garden and went straight to Lingsao. He knew that after 3 days, he would enter the inner door, and there were very few opportunities to come to pick the spiritual grass in this Lingsao Garden, so he borrowed Shu Fu's token in order to search for it before entering the inner door. In fact, he has done so now. Holding Shu Fu's token, he was quite energetic, all the way like a robber, stuffed the prepared storage bags so much that the places he walked through were mostly bare. Alchemy is extremely troublesome, this can't blame me. While inserting the grass into the storage bag, Yi Chen did not forget to find a very good reason for himself. Until late at night, he was still working in a patch of spirit grass in the Lingsao Garden, and all the storage bags prepared in advance were stuffed. It's been a long time for me to use it. Yi Chen patted each bag with bulging storage bags, and Yi Chen finally let go of this aura of nimble grass. Leave. Taking a deep breath, Yi Chen was about to leave. However, as soon as he turned around, he touched his chin again and looked towards the depths of the Lingsao Garden. He clearly remembered that there was a cliff at the end of the Lingsao Garden, and there were strange things under the cliff that made his true fire fearful. Now when he comes again, he still can't help curiosity to walk over again. The second time he came to the end of the Lingsao Garden, he stood on the edge of a cliff and looked down. The cliff is still towering. Looking down, he can still see the flying clouds, and every time he looks down, he looks like he is looking at a bottomless abyss, and his mind has a feeling of being swallowed. At this moment, the real fire in his Danhai fluctuated again, seemingly scared, tortured on the edge of Yi Chen's Danhai. Although the flames were beating, he could feel that the real fire was shaking. What's going on below makes you so scared? Looking at Danhai's real fire, Yi Chen couldn't help scratching his head. Suddenly, a breeze passed, but it shuddered. With a subconscious glance around, Yi Chenggen coughed. It was too weird, especially the real fire shivering in Danhai, giving him a cooler feeling. This place shouldn't stay long. Thinking to himself, Yi Chen turned without hesitation. Of course, just when he turned around and one foot was already raised, there was a strong and irresistible suction behind him, and he was sucked on the spot before his feet had landed. What's the matter? Yi Chen was stunned and wanted to move, but was bound by a strange power. She only knew that her body was falling rapidly, and the wind roaring around was like a sharp knife. He was tingling all over. Not only that, he was deprived of his energy and the right to speak, and he could only be allowed to drag him to the bottom of the cliff with that powerful force. Soon, he only felt a dark, falling body, as if he had entered a bottomless abyss, and all he could see was the darkness, which made people think he had fallen into hell. Heaven and earth fell into silence at this time. I don't know when, under the dark cliff, Yi Chen only felt that his feet had landed on the ground steadily, and even his body imprisonment disappeared. He recovered his ability to move, and took out the Qishao sword, then took out the illuminated spirit beads, staring at his surroundings, the dark cliff bottom, giving him a creepy feeling. It was through the light of the spirit beads that he could see the surrounding scene clearly. This is a deadly place. There are no flowers and trees, no vitality, everywhere is misty, sandy land at the foot. It is very soft to step on, but he also faintly saw a lot of half-covered dead bones. In addition to these, he can see that it is a broken altar, which seems to be a long time, full of traces of vicissitudes of life. There are blood on it, and many runes that make him incomprehensible. Okay. Taking a glance at the altar, Yi Chen's eyes narrowed slightly, and he found that there was also a human-shaped stone statue on the broken altar. It kept the posture of sitting in a cross, and if you looked closely, you could see that it was an old man. How could I be brought here? The light in his eyes became dim. What is the origin of this cliff? And, speaking of this, Yi Chen could not help but glance at the real fire in Danhai and found his own fire. At this moment, the flame was beating more fiercely, fearing to make it shiver. Little friend, as I thought about it, an old and stern voice sounded suddenly. Who? He clenched the Qishao sword. Yi Chen watched vigilantly. There was cold sweat leaching on his forehead, and his heart throbbed and throbbed. It was too weird. He even heard that sentence, where did it come from? Little friend. The old and stern voice sounded again. Who? Yi Chen stepped back subconsciously, holding the Qishao sword's hand, could not help but intensify. Behind you. The old voice was still haggard, and full of vicissitudes of time. Hearing this, Yi Chen turned suddenly. Although the voice was whispering, he still heard the source, and he was talking about the cross-legged stone figure of the altar behind him. Yi looked at the human statue on the altar, and Yi Chen took a step back again. Only quickly, he was surprised to find that the broken altar was not a stone statue sitting on its knees, but a person. Just because the body was covered with heavy dust, covering his body, it made people think at first glance it is a stone statue. When Yi Chen went, the old man opened his eyes slowly. The opening of these eyes made Yi Chen take a step back subconsciously again, because one of the eyes of the man was empty, without eyes or pupils. It was a black hole, and the other eye was weird, like abyss, can't see at a glance. Who are you? His eyes narrowed for a moment. Yi Chen's eyes were full of alertness, never thinking of such a person under the cliff. Ginger is too empty. The old man's words were weak, and he could hardly hear them. Zhang is too hypocritical. Yi Chen's eyes rolled a little, making sure he had never heard of this person, at least not in Dachu. In his heart, Yi Chen looked at Zhang Taishu up and down. Although he opened his eyes, he remained motionless, and the dust was very thick, and the body was lingering with thick death gas, old and unbearable, like a coffin. Climbing out of here. Why are you hiding under the cliff of my Heng Yizong? While looking at Zhang Taishu, Yi Chen stared at Zhang Taishu in the meantime, hoping to see some clues from Zhang Taishu's words and deeds. Hearing that Zhang Taishu could not help but smile. I was here before the Heng Yu Zongjian faction, and it was 5,000 years after sitting. 5,000 years. Rao was Yi Chen's determination. He couldn't help but widen his eyes when he heard these three words. 5,000 years, what a concept this is, he cannot imagine. Although the monk Shoyuan is far higher than mortals, it is not without boundaries. A monk in a spiritual realm can live for up to 300 years, and a person in an empty realm can live for 500 years, even the legendary heaven. Monks can't escape the number of lives in the millennium. In the 5,000 years, what kind of cultivation is needed to sustain them? For 5,000 years, this old man climbed out of the coffin. After looking at Zhang Taishu on the altar up and down again, Yi Chen swallowed bitterly. In the 5,000 years, Wang Ba was a turtle. Yi Chen's expression suddenly became wonderful. It's an act against the sky to live for 5,000 years. It's the scariest thing to sit for 5,000 years. You must know that Zhang Taishu's experience is not just vicissitudes of life, but also endure the loneliness of endless years. The shock in her heart made Yi Chen forget her vigilance and tentatively looked at that Zhang Taishu. Senior, are you really living 5,000 years old? Zhang Taishu didn't speak, but just nodded gently. Then what do you always do? Yi Chen couldn't help but ask curiosity, although he was asking about people's self-cultivation. Chapter 110. Monster. Da Sheng. Zhang Tai smiled slightly, and was not furious because Yi Chen took the liberty to ask him about his cultivation. Although he was old and could not see anything on his face, his words were very gentle. Da Sheng. Here, Yi Chen could not help but scratch his head, looked at Zhang Taishu like an idiot, and smiled awkwardly. That, senior, what is the Da Sheng in your mouth? Zhang Tai smiled softly but did not talk to Yi Chen. Seeing Zhang Taishu didn't talk much, Yi Chen was secretly thinking that a monk in the heavens could live for 1,000 years, and a monk who could live for 5,000 years would be at least 3 times higher than the monk in heaven. Thinking of it this way, he was shocked to know that Dachu would not know how many years it would take him to have a heaven, let alone a saint who was at least 3 times higher than heaven. Little friend, do you know why I brought you here? Seeing Yi Chen whispered, Zhang Taishu said again. I don't know. Yi Chen shook his head slightly. Is he still confused now? I want to borrow your fairy fire. Xian Huo. Yi Chen froze and scratched his head. Senior, I don't have Xian Huo, only real fire. On hearing that, Zhang Taishu smiled slightly. The real fire that you haven't awakened is the fairy fire. Wow, Yi Chen couldn't help screaming, and set his eyes in the Danhai. He looked at the golden flame in surprise, listening to the tone of Zhang Taishu, and the level of the fairy fire was much higher than the real fire. A lot of. I didn't expect you to have such a hanging identity. Looking at the golden flames in Danhai, Yi Chen couldn't calm down. Little friend, can I borrow your fairy fire? When Yi Chen was surprised, Zhang Taishu spoke again. Speaking of his true immortal fire, Yi Chen's vigilance came up again. The old man in front of him was too weird. God knew if he wanted to take his immortal fire. If he was absent-minded and abducted, it would be worthless. I don't know what the predecessor is going to do with my real fire. Without immediately calling Shanwo, Yi Chen gave a tentative glance at Zhang Taishu. Suicide, suicide, suicide. Yi Chen froze on the spot, thinking he had heard it wrong, and the old man named Zhang Taishu had sent him down in order to commit suicide by his immortal fire. Why is that so strange? To be precise, to kill the monster inside me. Monster. I was too conceited at that time, and caused the unknown things that should not be provoked, so that nowadays, people are no longer ghosts or ghosts. Knowing Yi Chen's doubts, Zhang Taishu snorted and explained slowly, I thought I could get rid of it, but I still underestimated it. For 5,000 years, I can do it alone, and I can no longer hold it down. Quote. So powerful. Yi Chen was startled and startled. The destiny and the fate is destined for me to escape. Why are seniors so pessimistic, or should I ask my master to help you? Yi Chen tentatively looked at Zhang Taishu. You can't hold it alone, you may be able to find a few more people. Zhang Tai shook his head helplessly, it's useless, and with their cultivation, no matter how many times they just choke. Hearing this, Yi Chen's mouth could not help but twitch. Senior, the strong man in the empty realm comes and die. Are you sure my fairy fire can destroy it? Can. Yi Chen's eyes turned a little, and he still looked at Zhang Taishu with a doubt. Senior, since you committed suicide, you don't need to use my fairy fire. I am dead, the monsters in my body will break through my imprisonment. For 5,000 years, I have exhausted all my efforts to suppress it. I have become so weak that I can no longer suppress it. Therefore, I must die before I die. After it, otherwise the monster will be a catastrophe. Quote. If the predecessor said so, the junior would understand. Yi Chen nodded, calling out the fairy fire of Danhai. Come on. With a big wave of his hand, Yi Chen hit the fairy fire at Zhang Taishu. Soon, Shanwo shrouded Zhang Taishu, shattered his dust, exposed Zhang Taishu's skinny body. Yi Chen could not even capture a drop of blood from Zhang Taishu. 5,000 years, it really drained all the hard work. Muttered, Yi Chen could not help but develop a jealous heart for the monsters in Zhang Taishu's body, which can make a great saint exhaust his hard work and suppress it. Powerful. Roar, roar. Soon, the fierce roar came out of Zhang Taishu's body, as if the appearance of an immortal fire, so that the monsters in Zhang Taishu's body felt a powerful threat, and then roared to break through Zhang Taishu's imprisonment. Aside, Yi Chen's face paled, and the roar of the monster seemed to be full of magic and devouring power, which made him almost lose heart, and made him have a kind of pain from the soul. Zhang Taishu, do you really want to endlessly? Soon, Zhang Taishu heard a vicious roar. We've been tangled for 5,000 years, and it's time for one to end. I'm dead. You can't survive. I should have died. The roar did not know when it had dissipated. When Shanwo left Zhang Taishu's body, Zhang Taishu's faint breath suddenly turned down. He was like a lone lamp in the howling wind, and he always had an annihilation posture. Senior. Yi Chen hurried forward and took out the fluid. I have run out of Shoyuan, and the antidote to the sky will not save me. Zhang Taishu said in a stunned voice. Yi Chen was silent, but Rao was so. He still injected a lot of Yu Lingye into Zhang Taishu's body, hoping to help Zhang Taishu to continue his life with the thin essence of Yu Lingye. Little guy, can you tell me, why are there blood in the magical path in your body? Zhang Taishu did not stop Yi Chen from pouring Yuling fluid into him, but looked at Yi Chen kindly. Looking at Zhang Taishu's kind face, Yi Chen pursed his lips, but still took out the little ding who had made the magic blood. Seeing that little tripod, Yi Chen clearly noticed a flash of light in the old man's eyes. Immediately, Zhang Taishu's eyes became dim, and he reluctantly shook his head and smiled. Meng Yuan, as strong as you, can't defeat this vicissitudes. Seniors know the origin of this little tripod. Yi Chen looked at Zhang Taishu in doubt. Zhang Tai smiled slightly, but did not say the secrets that Xiao Ding should have. Little guy, this little ding is a treasure. You must take it away, otherwise you will cause the death of the body. After listening to Zhang Taishu saying this, Yi Chen was shocked, and then carefully looked at Xiao Ding in his hand again. He could be praised by a great saint who has lived for at least 5,000 years. He can imagine the origin of this little ding huge. There are really a lot of babies on you. Here, Zhang was too weak, but glanced at Yi Chen's storage bag, and there were a few flashes of light in his eyes, and the words were quite meaningful. Yi Chen froze, followed by a glance at his storage bag. Did he still have a treasure in his storage bag comparable to that of shouting? Little guy, look into my eyes. Zhang Taishu raised his head hard. Although he didn't know what Zhang Taishu was about to do, Yi Chen looked into Zhang Taishu's eyes. One eye of Zhang Taishu is empty, while the other eye contains endless mystery. If you look carefully, you can see the starry sky and the world of thousands in his eyes. There seems to be a fairy wheel depiction. When he stared, the fairy wheel seemed to have turned a bit. What is this? What kind of eye pupil? Yi Chen said. 6 eyes and 6 eyes. I am most proud of Shanzang in my life, and I will entrust it to you. Chapter 111. Fairy Eye. What? A painful growl sounded from the bottom of the dark cliff. I saw. In front of the broken altar, Yi Chen snarled with his left eye covered, blood spilled from his fingers, covered his face, and there was a burst of roar in his mind, as if the entire skull was about to burst. Puff! With a spurt of blood spurting out, Yi Chenyang fell down and fell into a fainting spot. Looking at Zhang Taishu, his body is still dissipating. Originally, one eye was hollow. Now the other eye has become a black hole. There are no eyes, no pupils. His 6 fairy eye pupils have now passed. To Yi Chen, heaven and earth, at this moment fell into peace. I don't know when. When fainted, Yi Chen sat up from the ground while covering his head still vertigo, letting him rub his brows fiercely. Little guy, you're awake. Zhang Tai's soft voice came from the altar. Although he had no eyes, he still showed a kind smile on Yi Chen's side, and most of his body had dissipated. Within a few minutes, it will completely disappear between this world. Senior. Yi Chen got up in a hurry. Yi Chen came to Zhang Taishu's body and saw Zhang Taishu's body dissipating continuously, but it was helpless. You can feel the change in your left eye. Zhang Taishu smiled slightly. After hearing that, Yi Chen started to check his left eye. He was surprised to find that his left eye was no longer the original pupil. Today's pupil contains too much mystery. It seems to contain too many inexplicable words, especially the immortal mark on the pupil, although small, but it seems to have imprinted the endless mystery. He clearly felt the tremendous power in the left eye, which made him tremble. Senior, this is. The heart was shocked, and Yi Chen couldn't help looking at Zhang Taishu. That's the 6 eyes of the fairy wheel that can only be awakened once by my fairy people for 10,000 years. Immortal, immortal, Yi Chen yelled. Senior, are you an immortal? Zhang Taishu didn't speak, but just nodded gently. My mother was obedient, Yi Chen was shocked again. The immortal, one of the ancient 9 ethnic groups, has always been an ancient legend. He never thought that he would have seen alive today, and how could he never imagine that the old man who was about to die would be an immortal and still at least alive 5,000 years old. The people of the immortal are rare. Only the people of the 6 immortals can awaken, and there is no one who can wake up the 6 immortals of the 6 immortals. This probability is infinitely close to 0. I really have this pair of 6 immortal eye pupils before I know how powerful it is. On the one side, Zhang Taishu continued to talk, but at this point, he shook his head helplessly, and the old face still returned. There was a hint of sorrow, but it is also this power that made me incompetent in the past. My blind self-confidence has set me on a path of no return, and has provoked unknown things that should not be provoked, and even lost me. 5,000 years. Quote. Before dying, Zhang Taishu seemed to think of the old days, the old face, except for the vicissitudes or vicissitudes. In the past, he was a heavenly holy man, but now, it is more like a dying and old man who is safe, even though he still cares about the world, he is unable to return to heaven. Senior, do you really want to pass such a precious gift to me? Yi Chen whispered while looking at Zhang Taishu, perhaps, you still have something to save. Zhang Tai shook his head helplessly and smiled tiredly. The years of 5,000 years have exhausted my life. Even if the emperor is alive, he can't save me. This is the established rule in the meditation. Yi Chen silently, watching an old senior who was completely in the sky melted in front of her eyes, could not help but give birth to a sense of sadness. I don't have much time. There are some things that I need to remind you about. After accepting the feelings, Zhang Taishu looked at Yi Chen. Seniors, please, younger, listen to your ears and listen respectfully. Yi Chen saluted respectfully. At that time, I was blinded by the gods, and awakened the 6 immortal eyes against the sky, but because of my arrogance, I provoked the existence that I should not, and I was deprived of 6 immortal eyes. What I want to say is that if he meets that person in the next year, he must be careful. If he is not defeated, he will ruin my 6 immortal eyes. Quote. Although listening quietly, Yi Chen could not help but feel a little shocked. From Zhang Taishu's words, he could hear how terrible the 6 immortal eyes would be if the immortals would awaken for thousands of years. A heavenly asterisk with 6 immortal eyes would be taken away by one. One can imagine how terrible the man Zhang was too vain. Each 6 immortal's eye has different abilities, but each 6 immortal's eye contains endless mysteries, which you will understand in the future. Zhang Taishu's tone became somewhat hasty, perhaps it was because his body dissipated faster and he knew he was running out of time, so he wanted to warn Yi Chen as much as possible in the last few minutes. In theory, the 6 immortal eyes will exert their greatest power in the hands of my immortal people. I don't know if you can control this 6 immortal eyes, and I don't even know how to pass them to what happens to foreigners. Quote. Zhang Taishu's tone became more urgent, and some words were incoherent, because the time left was too short, and he wanted to tell Yi Chen too much. Yi Chen was very sensible and kept silent, just listening quietly. My 6 immortal eyes have a forbidden technique called a Zhao. I will never use this forbidden time until the crisis, because it is at the cost of the longevity, and more. Quote. Every full moon night, you must not open the 6 fairy round eyes, let alone use the ability of the 6 fairy round eyes. In the future, you will find that the 6 immortal eyes can be a little broken, but you must not leak them. It's anti-celestial eyes, and it will suffer from condemnation. When the heavens are in decline, remember to seal the 6 immortal eyes. In his years, if possible, bring a sentence to the immortal. Everyone of the immortal family cannot reach the emperor's realm. Quote. 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 Every time Zhang Taishu said, his body would dissipate a lot. His old body had only a body above his shoulders at this moment. Within a minute, this earthly old man would completely dissipate between heaven and earth. Seeing Zhang Taishu, who was about to dissipate, Yi Chen couldn't help but ask, Senior, you still have last wishes. Are you wishing? Zhang Tai smiled tiredly and vicissitudes. Although he lost his eyes, he still looked up hard and looked at one side with nothingness. In the empty eyes, there were tears flowing out, but at the next moment, the tears turned into fly ash. For 5,000 years, you may not be here anymore. Murmured. Zhang Tai shook his head helplessly and smiled sadly. Huonger, once I thought I could do everything. Once I thought we were going to be old in eternal life, but at this moment, what I thought was once, but left with a lot of regrets. If there is a future life, Zhang Taishu will accompany you to the old white head. Quote. Speaking of which, Zhang Taishu was choked and his body turned into fly ash with the wind. On the one hand, Yi Chen did not open his mouth to speak. The grand saint who passed through the world, thinking of the red color of the past when life and death passed by, may only then realize how precious the ordinary share is. Life and death of mankind, heaven and earth, all remorse and all unwillingness during his lifetime will also disappear. Boom! Suddenly, Yi Chen knelt on the ground on one knee, and her words were full of sadness. Yechen, send her seniors. Zhang Taishu showed a tired and kind smile. Little fellow, monk is a journey against the sky, full of suffering and loneliness. You must always remember, don't forget your heart, Fangcheng Avenue. Chapter 112, Sturdy Beauty Master. Do not forget the original intention, Fangcheng Avenue. With the last 8 words spoken, Zhang Taishu also completely passed away with the wind, leaving only the gentle words to echo unrestrictedly between heaven and earth. Don't forget your original heart, Fangcheng Avenue. Muttered. Yi Chen seemed to realize. Click, click. Perhaps it was Zhang Taishu who was in the heavens and the earth, and the broken altar under his seat also shattered. It did not know how many years it had existed. The bottom of the dark and faint cliff also faded away with the death of Zhang Taishu, and bright stars and bright moonlight came down. Senior, I will use your fairy round eyes to see this wonderful world for you. Bowing to the place where Zhang Taishu was said, Yi Chen took a deep breath and walked outside. The bottom of the cliff was so long that he walked out for an hour before going out. At this moment, it is still late at night, but compared to the bottom of the dark and dim cliffs, the outside is full of life, ancient trees and lush flowers. So strange. After glancing around, Yi Chen couldn't help touching his left eye, and was surprised to find that in the eyes of Shanlin, flowers and trees seemed to be alive. Moreover, through this fairy wheel eye, he sees the world more clearly. In the past, things always felt that there was a layer of veil covering his vision. Now, passing on the fairy wheel eye, he seems to be able to pass through the veil. See more and more original stuff. It's really mysterious. While looking around, Yi Chen had already reached the rock wall. Through this rock wall, he could climb the Lingshan mountain of Hengyizong and return to the depth of Lingsao garden again. Of course, at this moment, a woman's fragrance came in the wind. Then, a jade hand suddenly appeared, and Yi Chen was stunned on the spot. Little guy, how did you get down and why didn't you fall to death? Xiao Yinyan's voice was extraordinarily beautiful. Chu Xuaner's shadow turned out, and she yelled at Yi Chen like a little chicken. Beauty master, why did you come down? Seeing Chu Xuaner, Yi Chengen coughed. Moreover, when he looked at Chu Xuaner, his eyes could not help but widen, because through Shanlin's eyes, he ignored the barrier of Chu Xuaner's coat and could see her white and soft skin. He could even see Chu Zan what color underwear the child wears. Chu Xuaner, who looks beautiful, looks no different from him naked. Grunt. Seeing his eyes straight, Yi Chen could not help but secretly swallowed a saliva. Chu Zan's exquisite figure, the nearly perfect carcass, and the inch of white and tender skin, so charming, he looked hot all over. Never it was found that blood had flowed out of his nostrils. Perspective. This is also the ability of Shanlin. Yi Chen couldn't help but rip the corners of his mouth. Is this evil? What expression do you have? Chu Xuaner felt unnatural with her eyes staring straight. Kiki. Yi Chen coughed, wiped his nose, and laughed. Master, how are you here? I still want to ask you. Chu Xuaner threw Yi Chen to the ground, and then looked at Yi Chen with a smile. I said, didn't you pick the grass in the Lingsao garden? How did you run under the cliff? And, how did your kid get down? Quote, I came down the tree vine. Yi Chen shook his head and said, not forgetting to point to the messy tree vine hanging down from the rock wall. Tree vine. Chu Xuaner was amused. Yu Ji slipped on Yi Chen's face, blinked her beautiful eyes, and said with a smile, little guy, you're not good. Such a high rock wall. Rao it, Because I am so afraid of falling into the sky that you do'n't dare to descend from the sky. Even if you go down a tree vine in a condensed state, you do'n't think you came down in 7 or 8 days. Quote. Hearing that, Yi Chen touched the tip of his nose and coughed again. I climb fast. Since you are climbing so fast, then you go up yourself. I'm leaving first. Then, as soon as Chu Shuner shook his sleeves, he had to walk away from the air. Don't. No, master. Yi Chen hurriedly grabbed Chu Shuner. If he climbed, he wouldn't be afraid if he didn't have 7 or 8 days. He didn't have that time to spend here, but 3 days later, entering the interior door, if time is wasted here, you will definitely miss the test of the barren forest. That is the most nonsense thing. You're here, come and get me a piece of it. Yi Chen grinned and rubbed his hands. Would you like to go up with me? Chu Shuner showed her smiling expression again. Save time. 3 days later I will take the test of the barren forest. I can't be trapped here. It's not impossible to take you up, but you must obediently obey the premise. You can only nod your head, not shake your head. Of course the apprentice has to listen to the master. Even if you keep asking me to eat ****** now, I won't frown. Looking at Yi Chen's absolutely look, Chu Shuner patted Yi Chen's shoulders meaningfully. He said that the lawlessness of eating ***** was so unreliable. I don't know if this kid is going to eat ***** now, will he cry on the spot? Who would have thought that Chu Shuner, who looks so beautiful, touched his chin, and it was just this pair that actually gave birth to one. This weird idea of letting Yi Chen eat shit. Master. Seeing Chu Shuner smirking, Yi Chen tentatively shook her hands in front of her eyes. Kiki. Strange thoughts passed by. Chu Shuner looked at Yi Chen with a smile and asked, Good disciple, Qiu of Lingdan Pavilion, looks pretty. Hearing that, Yi Chen was suddenly stunned. Teach you to be her daughter-in-law for your teacher, what about you? Seeing Yi Chen getting awkward, Chu Shuner blinked beautiful eyes. I'm going to eat shit. Yi Chen, who knew Chu Zan's intentions instantly, was about to run. Come back for me. Chu Shuner seemed to have expected Yi Chen to drive away, and immediately stretched out his jade hand, and returned Yi Chen, who was just ready to run, like a little chicken. You little bunny, you just vowed, why do you want to rebel against master? The beautiful lady Chi Chi, even marrying you and wronged you. We are not suitable, Yi Chen yelled, trying to break free, but was pressed to the ground by Chu's honor. Inappropriate. Chu Shuner, who was as beautiful as a fairy, was soaring, and far more sturdy than expected. Yi Chen's head was almost pressed into the dirt by her head. We are really inappropriate. Inappropriate? Then tell me what is not suitable. Chu Shuner asked with a smile while pressing Yi Chen's head. We're both too familiar to get to bed. No, sorry to start. Quote. Quote. What? Soon, at the bottom of the silent cliff, a scream like a pig was heard. I don't know how long it took for the place to return to peace. From a distance, it was a momentary crooked neck tree, a rope tied to a dry branch, and one end of the rope was tied to a person, shaking with the wind. That's right, this is Yi Chen. He was dragged under the tree by Chu Shuner, and he was severely stung. His face was blushing and swollen. The whole pair of panda eyes and his hair were scratched like a chicken nest. Then look at the whole body except the footprints, still footprints. Thinking about it, under the tree, Chu Shuner leaned Erlang's legs and was leisurely cuddling Guazir, and sometimes he glanced at the suspended Yi Chen. Looking at Yi Chen, she was already in tears. What kind of trouble is this? I thought that such a beautiful master would be a gentle woman, but the fact made him have the urge to vomit blood, and he was trapped on the ground for most of the night before he realized that he had fallen into a pit. I want to say that Qiu is good, marrying you is cheap. You don't want to marry her, don't be too good in the future. Under the tree, Chu Shuner said to himself, regardless of Yi Chen's impulse. That beautiful lady, actually, I have someone I like. Knowing that Chu Shuner would not let himself down easily, Yi Chen smiled. Master, you look so beautiful, you won't take a nap. Chapter 113. Unexpected Surprise. Anyone you like. Really don't say that. When hearing Yi Chen's words, Chu's honor couldn't help but stand up. looked at Yi Chen with curiosity, and some gossip. Who is that person? Looking at Chu Xuaner's big blinking eyes, Yi Chen coughed. This makes people say that the person I like is an empty world. Say that person looks exactly like you. Say we have passed the bed in the cave. Yi Chen really didn't know how to speak. Only the two of them knew what happened that night. He didn't want the third person to know. First, he was afraid of people seeking revenge. Second, it's a bit embarrassing to come up with such a nonsense and romantic thing. What about you? Under the tree, Chu Xuaner took a wooden stick and stabbed Yi Chen. Secret. Yi Chen took a deep breath. After all, the two words collapsed. Then he saw Chu Xuaner under the tree rolled up his sleeves. What? Soon, at the bottom of the cliff there was another scream of ghosts and wailing. Just before dawn, Chu Xuaner flew away in a hurry, leaving Yi Chen still shaking on the crooked neck tree. You crazy girl. Looking at the direction where Chu Xuaner's left, Yi Chen scolded and scolded. After breaking away a few times, he found that the rope that bound him was not an ordinary rope, but a spiritual weapon that had been specially sacrificed. With his cultivation and strength, he could not break it away at all. Shanwo, it's up to you. In desperation, he had no choice but to pin his hope on his Shanwo. The fairy fire seemed to be spiritual, with a slight tremor. Then Yanyaner ran out of Danhai, wrapped the rope tied with Yi Chen, and refined all the spiritual power hidden in the rope. The rope that has lost its spiritual power is no different from an ordinary rope. Yi Chen broke it with a little energy. After breaking the rope, he slipped under the rock wall, then looked up and looked upwards. It was the same as looking down from the top, because the clouds were too high, because it was too high. Come on! Yi Chen was furious, and there were many tree vines hanging down, but it wasn't a joke to climb up. Master, shouldn't you really go? Don't leave me here. I'll take the barren forest test. You mad girl. Yi Chen blew his throat to the top for a long time and didn't hear anything. In the end, he simply sat on a tree vine with a few fingers, shook his head, and encountered such a sturdy master. Drunk. You're awesome. Yi Chen was completely out of temper, so he had to sit honestly and wait for Chu Xuaner to pick him up, otherwise he would really climb up the tree vine, and he would definitely miss the test of the barren forest. At this moment, his fairy fire ran out of Danhai without calling, and after running a circle around Yi Chen, he jumped up and down in the air. Seeing his fairy fire, Yi Chen's eyes lit up, as if thinking of something. You can fly, right? Yi Chen turned and jumped. Yi Chen rubbed his hands and looked at his fairy fire. On the same day, he saw his fairy fire flying down the cliff, and flying up from the cliff. Hearing Yi Chen's call, the fairy fire jumping up and down obediently returned to Yi Chen's side. Can you take me up? Yi Chen looked at his fairy fire brightly. The fairy fire seemed to understand Yi Chen's meaning, and immediately flew to Yi Chen's feet, and then the small flame continued to grow, turning into a golden cloud of flame, and the whole body was overflowing with brilliant gold. Yi Chen lifted her foot and stepped on it first, and found that the flame cloud formed by the fairy fire was soft, just like marshmallow. Hee. Yi Chen grinned, and stepped on the cloud formed by the fairy fire. Go. With his orders, the clouds of immortal fire rushed up into the sky and went straight into the night. You slow down. Yi Chen lay all on the flame cloud, for fear that the immortal fire would throw him down without notice. If it fell, it would fall into a slump on the spot. Shanwo seemed to be very understanding. The speed also slowed down, slowly and steadily rising. Stabilizing his body, Yi Chen couldn't help but glance down. All he could see was the flying clouds. Although he was a monk, he still flew so high for the first time, thinking that it had an unreal feeling. Why didn't you find it before? Yi Chen was in a good mood, not forgetting to pat the fairy fire beneath her. A monk is a monk who wants to go to heaven and needs a mount of a flying beast. A monk in the realm of the sun needs to control the flying sword. In order to reach the spiritual realm, he can control the gods to fly. And if you really want to fly in the air, you must at least reach the empty world. Now, the fairy fire can turn into a cloud of flame to carry him to the sky. It is like a flying spirit beast, more like a magic rainbow and a flying sword, and it does not consume his true energy at all. This is absolutely unexpected to him. Joy. If you encounter a crisis in the future, you can use your air defense to escape. Shanwo, you are such a treasure. Flying into the sky, no longer lying on his back, Yi Chen turned over and jumped up, adapted to the height of this flight, and then waved his arm and pointed upward. The fairy fire comprehends, the flames rise, and the speed suddenly rises, like a golden light, flying soaring through the sky, breaking through the layers of clouds and mist, feeling the wind of the ears. Yi Chen's eyes filled with joyful smiles. Not a minute, Yi Chen jumped on the edge of a cliff deep in Lingsaoyuan with an ape. Call. With a spit of stale air, Yi Chen looked at Shanwo. It's a good job. If it weren't for you, I want to climb up. I don't know if it's going to be a monkey. Praised by Yi Chen, Shanwo was very excited. After turning around Yi Chen several times, he was summoned by Yi Chen to return to Danhai. After receiving the fairy fire, Yi Chen could not help but glance down the cliff again. Tonight, too many things really happened. Zhang Taishu under the cliff shocked him too much. The legendary fairy people, the old seniors who have lived at least 5,000 years old, the fairy ring eyes, this piece by piece, I am afraid no one will believe it when you say it. This was a fortune, and he couldn't help sighing about the impermanence of the world. Senior, thank you for your gift. Yi Chen bowed his hands to the bottom of the cliff, and then slowly turned around. Just after turning around, Yi Chen saw the slender figure with the immortal wind behind him. Take a closer look. It was the elder who guarded the Lingsao garden, the oldest son of Shang Lin Qingshan. At this moment, Lin Qingshan was looking at Yi Chen in amazement, and looking up and down, there was something strange beyond words. Yi Chen. Lin Qingshan knew Yi Chen. When he was outside, he still remembered Yi Chen's impression. I've seen Elder Lin. Yi Chen stepped forward, saluting respectfully. Why are you in the Lingsao garden and when did you come? Lin Qingshan looked at Yi Chen with doubts. Why didn't I find out that you came in? Where did you come from? Kiki. Hearing Lin Qingshan's mouth full of doubts, Yi Chen could not help but cough. Well, my master cultivated at the bottom of the cliff. She sent it to me. Sister Chu Zan is below. Elder Lin, I still have something to do, I'll go first. Here, Yi Chen just pulled a reason, and turned away. Chapter 114. Copy at a glance. Out of the Lingsao garden, Yi Chen headed for Lingdan Pavilion all the way. At this moment, the sky is not yet bright, but many disciples of Hengyu's gates have rushed out to absorb the heaven and earth aura. When Yi Chen walked by, it immediately caught everyone's attention. There was a lot of surprise in his eyes. Just because Yi Chen was injured too much yesterday, it was only one day that he was jumping alive again. This boy's resilience is also amazing. Whispering voices began to flow. How on earth did he cultivate? I remember that when he first arrived, he would have a heavy condensation. It took less than 2 months to reach the peak of condensation, and this advanced speed is also fast. Yi Chen walked lightly, but he turned a deaf ear to these discussions. At this moment, all his thoughts were on the eyes of his fairy wheel. He found that although he had inherited this fairy wheel eye, although he had a wonderful feeling, but this fairy wheel eye was not as powerful as Zhang Taishu said, except that he could see through the clothes. He had not found the fairy wheel yet. The eye has other abilities. Is it just because I am not an immortal? Yi Chen made such a guess. At the bottom of the cliff, Zhang Taishu once said that only the talents of the Xi'an people can awaken, and only in the hands of the people of the Xi'an people can they exert their greatest power. He never knew it. Because I'm not an immortal, so many abilities of Shanlinian can't be shown. Is it because I'm not an immortal, so Shanlinian can't fit into my body? Yi Chen kept groaning while touching his chin. Or is it that my cultivation is not enough, and I am still far from being qualified to use the fairy eye? Yi Chen continually conceived and guessed that, to him, Shanlinian was like a treasure, but he did not have the key to open this treasure. All he had to do was to explore and realize in the years to come. I have already learned the first ability of Shanlinian. He muttered to himself. Yi Chen coughed, and his mind could not help but emerge from the fragrant scene on the cliff land. Although Chu Shuiner was wearing clothes, in his eyes, it's nothing to wear without clothes. Thinking of Chu Shuiner's white and tender skin, exquisite figure, and nearly perfect carcass, Yi Chen couldn't help thinking about it. This can't blame me, and I don't know in advance that Shanlinian has such ability. Subconsciously touching the tip of his nose, Yi Chen consciously found a very valid reason for himself. I don't know if the beauty master will know if she will choke me on the spot. On weekdays, this fairy eye is still not open. Make evil. Muttering in a low voice, Yi Chen has stepped into Lingdan Pavilion. In the eyes, he saw Shu Fuli standing in front of the huge alchemy furnace, and there were a lot of ores and spirits on the side, many of which were unusual and precious. Elder Shu, do you want to practice alchemy? Seeing this scene, Yi Chen's eyes lit up, and Yan Yan rushed over. Seeing Yi Chen appear, Shu Fu dragged Yi Chen on the spot, first glanced at Qi Yu's room, and then whispered to Yi Chen, "Boy, Sister's honor told you." Hearing that, Yi Chen's eyes turned a bit, naturally knowing what Shu Fu was referring to was nothing more than his marriage with Qi Yu. Although he knew what Shu Fu was referring to, Yi Chen shook his head and pretended to be stupid. He pretended to look at Shu Fu with a curious expression. I didn't see my master, what would the master tell me? Did not see. Shu Fu felt his chin, and couldn't help whispering, isn't Sister's honor yet to tell this kid? Elder, what do you want to make today? Here, Yi Chen has rubbed his hands and stared at Shu Fu, his glistening master. As an alchemist, he will never let go of Shu Fu's alchemy. Zon Ling Dan, Yi Fu said at random. Shu Fu began to prepare the spiritual grass needed for alchemy. In 2 days, Yuer will enter the inner door and prepare her in advance. Hearing this, Yi Chen's humiliating belly. They are all masters. Is the gap so big? Thinking of Chu's honor, Yi Chen rubbed his eyebrows fiercely. I am afraid that until now, Chu's honor, as a master, does not say that it is a miracle. He has not been rewarded, but he was severely beaten to the ground for 2 meals. Aside, Shu Fu had already started alchemy, summoning the ground fire under the alchemy furnace, and then 3 spirit grasses with aura of light were cast in. Shu Fu deserves to be a well-known alchemist. He does not have any pressure to make Erwin Lingdan. Every alchemy procedure is very skilled. Although the process of refining Xuanling Dan is cumbersome, he is methodical. Yi Chen stood silently without any thoughts, staring at every action of Shu Fu, controlling the fire and refining, and never pulling down every step. Somehow, his eyes narrowed slightly, and a strange feeling was born in his heart. The cumbersome process of Shu Fu's refining of Zon Ling Dan seemed extremely simple in his eyes. Suddenly, the imprint of the immortal wheel on the pupil of his fairy eye turned slightly. Suddenly, Shu Fu, who was refining the alchemy, and every subtle step of controlling the fire and refining the essence of the spirit grass seemed to be imprinted in the eyes of Xuanlin. Not only that, the tedious alchemy procedure was deduced in his eyes by Xuanlin. Each picture is slowly reappearing. The tedious alchemy steps seem to be extremely detailed and simple. Does Xuanlin Eye still have the ability to replicate alchemy? Gently stroking his left eye, Yi Chen made such a bold guess. His speculation is not without reason, because looking at Shu Fu's alchemy with Xuanlin's eyes, everything seems extremely simple. He even has such a feeling. Now if he is allowed to make the 2-line mystic spirit, he will certainly be able to make it. Make it out. In the silence, he closed his eyes slightly, and seemed to be in a very mysterious state. His Xuanlin Eye copied Shu Fu's alchemy of Zon Ling Dan completely, and even copied each one. The tedious alchemy steps are extremely simple. He was immersed in that mysterious state, and Zon Lingdan's method of refining was already clear in his heart. Moreover, he was surprised to find that Zon Ling Dan can not only be refined like Shu Fu. After deducing with Xuanlin Eye, he can also be refined by another method. So it is. Although her eyes were closed, a hint of mysterious smile appeared on the corner of Yi Chen's mouth. Is this also the ability of Xuanlin Eye? Can you copy the alchemy of others, and deduct the mystery and simplify it into simplicity? Quote. Out of Dan. On one side, Shu Fu gave a flick and tapped the alchemy furnace lightly. Immediately, a green spirit pill flew out and was caught in his hands. Well, it's a top grade. Shu Fu rubbed his beard and looked at Zon Ling Dan in his hands with satisfaction. It was crystal clear, cyan cloud lingering, warm, and refreshing medicinal herbs. At this moment, Yi Chen also opened his eyes and glanced at Zon Lingdan in Shu Fu's hand. Then he rubbed his hands and smiled. Well, Elder Shu, let me try to make Zon Lingdan too. You, Shu Fu raised an eyebrow and couldn't help but glance at Yi Chen beside him, and said angrily, "You can hardly make even 1 grain of Lingdan, and you want to make Erwin Lingdan. You want to go to heaven." Quote, "How to know without trying? You know that fart, I have to talk about you well. Alchemy is like cultivation. You must not rush into it. Laying the foundation is the right path. Although your talent is not low, you must be steady and fight, but you cannot be too conceited." Quote, "I'll try it once." Shu Fu whispered a lot, but Yi Chen didn't listen at all, blinking at Shu Fu. "Refining, refining, refining for you." Shu Fu glared with a beard and simply took a few steps back from his sleeves, sitting on the stone bench behind him, scolded, "I can't see the coffin. Tears." "Thank you, elder." With the permission of Shu Fu, Yi Chen grinned, came to the alchemy furnace on the spot, and then did not forget to roll up his sleeves. Chapter 115, Talented People. Before the alchemy furnace, Yi Chen took a deep breath. Immediately afterwards, he summoned the immortal fire and broke into the alchemy furnace, and then 3 spirit grasses were put into it one after another. Yi Chen's spirit is highly concentrated, and the soul force, the true energy, and the immortal fire are perfectly matched at the same time. The 3 spirit grasses that were driven into the alchemy furnace get the most extreme tempering in the shortest time. Okay, not far away, I was looking at Shu Fu here, frowning. It's only been a few days that this kid's alchemy has become so skilled, it's weird. Master. At this moment, Qi Yizong stepped out of the side hall and saw Yi Chen in the alchemy. She came to Shu Fu gently. This is Zon Ling Dan, it can be solid pay yuan. Shu Fu handed Zon Ling Dan, which had just been refined, to Qi Yu. I will make a few stoves of elixir for you in the future. It will be used in the inner door. Quote, "Thank you, master." Qi Yu Yan smiled and put Zon Ling Dan into his hands. Then she glanced at Yi Chen not far away and asked, "What elixir is he making?" Zon Ling Dan. Zon Ling Dan. Qi Yu suddenly panicked, and then he tentatively looked at Shu Fu. Zon Ling Dan is Erwin Ling Dan. Master taught him to make Zon Ling Dan so quickly. I don't have that spare time. Shu Fu disapproved. Looking at Yi Chen, he hadn't cursed. Have he tried it? He thought it was so easy to practice alchemy. It doesn't matter if you try. The refining process of Erwin Lingdan is extremely tedious, so a small deviation may cause the alchemy to fail. The difficulty of refining is not comparable to that of Lingwen. This kid is too conceited and seems to be a teacher. Find some time to frustrate his spirit. Quote, Qi Yu didn't speak, just whispered a smile, and sat beside Shu Fu, watching Yi Chen Lian Dan quietly. In front of the alchemy furnace, Yi Chen's look was not as serious as he thought, but he was a bit relaxed. Every time he put the spirit grass into it, he would distill the essence and skillfully blend it with other essences. Predecessor Zhang Taishu, I began to understand the terribleness of Shanlin. While practicing alchemy, Yi Chen also parted out a faint spirit to marvel at the horror of Shanlin. If I haven't guessed wrong, Shanlin can not only deduct the alchemy of copying others, but also the mystery of copying other people's mystery. Just look at it once, and you can break the mystery. Yi Chen muttered. The language seems to have seen a rich treasure. Secretly suppressing the surprise in his heart, he waved again and threw 3 or 5 spirit grasses into the alchemy furnace. So, half an hour passed quickly. Not far away, Shu Fu's lazy reclining body could not help but sit up a bit, and looked at Yi Chen, who was still busy by the alchemy furnace, murmured, "How is this possible? Such a complicated step of alchemy, he didn't go wrong once, this kid's talent." Quote, as a well-known alchemist, Shu Fu was really surprised. How complicated the refining of Erwin Lingdan and Zon Lingdan was. Any slight mistake may lead to the failure of alchemy, but it's only a few days since I first came into contact with alchemy. Yi Chen didn't make the slightest mistake in refining Zon Ling Dan, which made him not shocked. Moreover, what made him even more shocked was that he had never shown Zon Lingdan's Dan Fang to Yi Chen at all. This is the most incredible. Alchemy is no better than cultivation. Each kind of miracle has its corresponding Danfang. Without a detailed description of Danfang, it is easy to make mistakes in the process of alchemy. But now, without the guidance of Danfang, Yi Chen started to make Zon Ling Dan only after watching the refining of Zon Ling Dan, and there was no error in precision. Such a talent made him ashamed. Suddenly, Shu Fu could not help but stand up and came to the alchemy furnace gently. "Elder Shu, wait a moment, I'll be fine." Seeing Shu Fu coming, Yi Chen looked at Shu Fu while controlling Shanwo. "Alchemy is a trivial matter. Give me concentration." Shu Fu could not help but rebuked. "Don't be so serious. I'm not doing it." Yi Chen pouted. Shu Fu didn't speak again, but she was full of surprise. Alchemy is the most afraid of being disturbed. Row is that his long-known alchemy master did not dare to talk distractively at the alchemy master, but Yi Chen in front of him not only split his voice, but also methodical alchemy, which shocked him. Moreover, he had peeked at Yi Chen's face more than once during the period, but there was no tension at all, but he was very relaxed. "What a freak this kid is," moaned, and Shu Fu's eyes became uncertain. Billion hibiscus, Yuyan flower. On the one side, Yi Chen had waved and took the 2 spirit grasses, and was about to be thrown into the alchemy furnace by him, but was stopped by Shu Fu on the side. "Boy, I didn't make it like this just now," Shu Fu said in a deep voice. "Billion hibiscus belongs to water, jade fire belongs to fire. You put them together to refine, sure it will not happen. Water and fire are incompatible, you can't see such an obvious taboo. Stop it, let me show you Zon Ling Dan's recipe, the refining of Zon Ling Dan. Any mistake in the process may lead to the failure of alchemy." Quote, "Of course I know that billion hibiscus belongs to water, and Yuyanwa belongs to fire. I also know that water and fire are incompatible." Yi Chen smiled, but he still put billion hibiscus and Yuyan flower into the alchemy furnace. "You prodigal son, isn't this a waste of spirit grass?" Shu Fu immediately glared. Unexpectedly, Yi Chen smiled sideways. "The elders, billion hibiscus and Yuyanwa have different innate attributes. One belongs to water and the other belongs to fire. In theory, they will not merge, but alchemy and cultivation are not the same. Pay attention to the harmony of yin and yang." Quote. Then, he waved and dropped a spirit grass called Zon Ling Sao, and laughed. "Zon Ling Sao, gentle in nature, may use it to neutralize billion hibiscus and jade flower." "Really don't say that," as Yi Chen said, Shu Fuj was there. "Xuanling Sao, billion hibiscus, Yuyanwa." Shu Fu muttered to himself, groaning secretly. "Yeah, why didn't I think of it?" Shu Fu scratched his beard and thoughtfully looked. Although water and fire are intolerant and mutually compatible, they can be reconciled with yin and yang, and can be neutralized with mystic grass. What? Shu Fu's eyes appeared with surprise. As a master of alchemy, he always followed the method of Dan Fang's refining, and never put together the spiritual grass of the 2 attributes of water and fire. Today, Yi Chen's words begin to realize that he has entered a misunderstanding and is too obedient. Fruit leaf 7-star flower, blood essence, snake fruit. Aside, Yi Chen successively dropped the spirit grass and spirit fruit into the alchemy furnace. In meditation, Shu Fu couldn't help but set his eyes on Yi Chen, and his look had become amazed. Yi Chen's move today is far beyond his expectations. At this age, he has such insights and accomplishments about alchemy. This is he never did that. He might really be able to make a mysterious spirit. Murmured to himself, Shu Fu hadn't moved his body for a long time. Next, Yi Chen didn't dare to care about it anymore, because the alchemy reached a critical moment, and his forehead was sweating, his face paled a lot. Although he broke the mystery of refining Xuanling Dan, his soul force is still overwhelmed. "Master, did he really only watch your refining Zon Ling Dan once?" Not far away, Chi Yu looked at Shu Fu with an unbelieving look. Shu Fu nodded slightly, but his eyes couldn't hide the shock. This kid's alchemy talent is no longer comparable to that of Danshan and his elders. His alchemy talent is comparable to that of the king of Dan 1,000 years ago. Quote, "Dan, King Dan." Rao Shichi's Dingli couldn't help but widen his eyes. "Master said, but is that old man who almost made TNG Dan?" Shu Fu nodded again. Chi Yu has been shocked and cannot be added. He can be praised by the long-established alchemist Shu Fu, and even more like Yi Chen, 1,000 years ago. What an honor. Out of Dan. When Shu Fu and Chi Yu were shocked, Yi Chen's frivolity came out when he was unwilling to come out. When he patted the alchemy furnace, a blue elixir was shaken out by him, and he grasped it by waving his arm. However, because of the refining of Zon Ling Dan, he consumed it very much. Just grabbing Zon Ling Dan, he collapsed and was dragged by Qi Yu. He actually made it. Yi looked at Yi Chen not far away. Shu Fu's face was petrified. He was only a teenager. He was just a condensed state, which made people feel embarrassed. Chapter 116. Let's do something. In the early morning, Heng Yizong was drenched by the warm sunshine. In Lingdan Pavilion, the three were sitting around the dining table, and Yi Chen was swallowing the food on the table. On the side, Qi Yu and Shu Fu looked at Yi Chen like monsters. As soon as it was dawning, Yi Chen gave them such a shock. A junior in the condensed state, who had just set foot in alchemy, had actually made two. Wenlingdan, if this has passed out, it will definitely cause a great uproar. Boy, are you sure you haven't peeked at my Dan Fang? Shu Fu asked more than once. I really don't, Yi Chen replied as he pulled the rice. That's unscientific. Shu Fu was extremely puzzled. You only need to read it once, and you will be able to make Zon Ling Dan. Tell me the truth, is there an expert to point you? No, Yi Chen's head shook like a rattle. That's weird. Shu Fu scratched his head, could not help getting up, and mumbled towards the inner hall, as I old. Looking at the departing Shu Fu, Qi Yu could not help but shook his head and smiled. I am the first time to see master like this and praise someone besides that Danshan. Yi Chen, you are not bad at hitting my master. Hearing this, Yi Chen could not help but cough, and looked down at Lammy. Here, Qi Yu pouted with a smile, flipped his hand and took out a map full of aura, floating in front of Yi Chen's eyes. As you can see, the map depicts a jungle, and it is very detailed and labeled. Be clear. What's this? Yi Chen put down the chopsticks, and looked at the map curiously. This is a map of the barren forest. Qi Yu explained, it is the channel connecting the inner door and the outer door, and we will enter the inner door through this barren forest 2 days later, but only if it can pass through the barren forest. Test. You can do it all. Yi Chen looked at Qi Yu suddenly. It's nothing. The Wanbao Pavilion on the outside is sold, and the map of the barren forest is not a big secret. Qi Yu said lightly and lightly. Finally, which disciple can win better than outside? It's not that the talents are different. The traps in the barren forest and the monsters and other things are basically furnishings. The really difficult thing is to send our disciples to test our disciples. Quote. Speaking of the disciples sent by the inner door, Qi Yu could not help looking at Yi Chen, and her eyes looked strange. Why did she look at me like this? Yi Chen was a bit unnatural when Qi Yu saw it this way. Do you know who the disciples sent out to test our disciples? Qi Yu said, not forgetting to rub his eyebrows. Sister knows. Wyman sent to test our disciples. There are 5 true sun realms, 30 of them are at their peak, and 50 of them are at 9th heaven. The first true disciple, Kong Sao, and Zuo Chiuming, the first-time apprentice of the Wymanjialutang, are among them. They are genuine Junyang scenes. Quote. Upon hearing Qi Yu's words, Yi Chen's mouth twitched a bit. How do I feel like I'm in trouble. You're doing something right. Qi Yu was still rubbing her eyebrows. My sister in the inner door told me that Kong Sao, Zuo Chiuming and Zhang Yang had already talked in the inner door. Lin's test has abolished you, so ask for blessings. Quote. As the elder inside the door deliberate, Yi Chen has covered his face, and the outside door is more stubble than he encountered. There are so many experts waiting for him in this barren forest test. It seems that he has foreseen his misery in the barren forest. Without saying anything else, let's say that Kong Sao and the 3 of them are 3 genuine real worlds, which are not comparable to the realm of human beings. It would be strange if they were blocked and not beaten to death by the group. The test of the barren forest is teamwork, so you still pray that God will divide you into a stronger team. Qi Yu said, if it is assigned to Xieyun and Huo Tang, it will be impossible to break into the inner door. The problem is, besides, the barren forests have their own borders and they are vast, and it is not easy for them to catch you. Quote. Anyway, please ask for blessing. Qi Yu shrugged helplessly, and got up and walked away. You guys. Yi Chen also followed, and went directly to the alchemy furnace, waving his hand to take out the spirit grass searched in the spirit grass garden. Immediately, The fairy fire was summoned again, and the next plant of spirit grass was skillfully thrown into the alchemy furnace. He wants to refining Schwanden as much as possible, because he has a hunch that in the barren forest test 2 days later, there must be more than one tough battle to fight, and to help people restore their effectiveness as a grain of magic. When the elixir is returned to Schwanden, it is necessary to prepare more. It must be used in the barren forest test. Perhaps because of the eyes of Schonlin, he refined back to Schwanden again. The technique has become extremely skilled, and even the speed of refining has increased more than 3 times. Soon, there was a strong medicinal fragrance in Lingden Pavilion. When you smelled it, you felt that the whole body was unblocked. One by one, Wei Shuanden was refined, and the grades were not low, and it was shiny like a Longan gem. On the other side, Chi Yu also walked out in a white dress, holding a purple slender spiritual sword in her hand, and it seemed that she had to do her final practice before entering the inner door. Soon, the chirping sound of Ling Jian sounded. Chi Yu quickly entered the state of cultivation. Yi Chen, who is practicing alchemy, can't help looking. Chi Yu's footwork is light, her body is mysterious, her body is haunted by Ling Xia, her figure is like a fairy, her sword is more agile, her sword is very mysterious, she looks like an illusion of petals, she is colorful and beautiful. Lu Ying Yu Jian Ju. Yi Chen murmured, as if recognizing the secret technique of the sword cast by Chi Yu. Suddenly, Yi Chen Wei opened the left eye fairy wheel eye undetectably, and took a panoramic view of Chi Yu Wu Jian. Every move and pattern of her, even the direction of the flow of vitality in her body when she wielded the sword, died. The imprint of death was in the eyes of Schonlin. Soon, the immortal mark on the pupil of Schonlin's eyes turned a little. Chi Yu's Luiying Yujianju was decomposed by the mysterious power carried by Schonlin's eyes, and then the mystery was reflected to Yi Chen. Sister Qi, I'm not trying to learn the secret of your sword, I'm just confirming one thing. Looking at Chi Yu intently, Yi Chen muttered to himself. Indeed, he is confirming one thing, that is, the ability of Schonlinian to deduce copy. Since he can deduce Shu Fu's alchemy of making Schwanlingden, it should also be able to deduce the mystery of copying other people's mystery. Facts have proved that his guess is correct. Under the eyes of Schonlin, Chi Yu's Luiying Yujianju was deduced very closely, and the mystery contained in it has been snooped by him. It's really a domineering ability. Yi Chen smiled slightly, withdrew his eyes from Chi Yu, snickered secretly, I have such ability, and worry that there will be no mystery in the future. With that in mind, he focused all his energy on refining back to Zon Dan. It was not until nightfall that he exhaustedly collected the fairy fire, paralyzed to the ground, and his alchemy was overwhelming his soul. There were stings in his mind, and his look was pale. However, his efforts have not been in vain. One day of hard work and rich harvests are also sufficient, at least it is enough to participate in the test of the barren forest. Chapter 117. All Forced. At night, Yi Chen ran out of Lingden Pavilion and ran into Wanbao Pavilion all the way. 2 days later, he will be tested in the barren forest. He knows that returning to Schwanden is not enough. He still needs some necessary equipment. As soon as I walked into Wanbao Pavilion, the huge sea jumped out. I looked at Yi Chen up and down first, and then sighed, this is the only day your kid has been jumping around and eating and growing up. The elders don't make me happy, I'm here to buy things. Yi Chen said, not forgetting that he was inside the huge Wanbao Pavilion, and he whispered, Elder, do you have this? Smoke bombs and incense. Quote. Hearing the big eyebrows of Yi Hai when he heard what Yi Chen wanted to buy, boy, what do you want to do? Useful. Yi Chen coughed. You didn't hit any good fare at the first glance. Yi Hai glanced at the huge sea. After knowing Yi Chen these days, he knew Yi Chen's nature very much. It's not a good boy, but Rao is so. He still took out a storage bag and put it on the counter. Look, these are not enough. Yi Chen grinned, opened the storage bag and glanced inside. There were more than 50 smoke bombs, and only 3 bottles of fragrant incense. Not enough. Shaking his head, Yi Chen looked at the huge sea again. Boy, these things are of great value. Are you sure you have so much money? Da Daihai looked at Yi Chen with an unbelieving expression, and said in a yin and yang tone, you want so many smoke bombs and incense, are you going? Robbery. Quote. What I want to do, you don't care. Yi Chen coughed again, and handed over a storage bag. There were not only spirit stones, but also some messy things. Hearing Yi Chen's words, it's right to think about the huge sea. It's enough to make money. Who cares if Yi Chen robs or steals? I took out a storage bag again, and the huge sea did not forget to ask with interest, this is not enough. If not enough, I have it here. As long as you have money, you can buy anything. Bring me a bunch of fairy ropes, 2 baskets of mines, 3 bags of white stone powder. Yi Chen handed a note, and wrote a lot of words on it, all of which he wanted to buy. After receiving the note, the huge sea swept away. Rao was unable to help pulling his lips. You must know that the items listed above are all used by Yin people, and none of them are pulled down. He strongly doubts if Yi Chen really robs and steals. Elder, hurry up, I still have something to do. Yi Chen looked at the vast sea harmlessly with a look of people and animals. Yi Chen looked down at the huge sea, and patted Yi Chen's small shoulder with a long face. Boy, grab more. Yi Chen opened his mouth, and for a while did not speak. Come, get it. Fat Danhai has stuffed a large storage bag into Yi Chen's hands, and then consciously pulled out a storage bag containing a spirit stone from Yi Chen's arms. Elder Pang, don't fall into the pit at night. Hey, you are a little bunny too. The vast sea was about to explode, and Yi Chen was already out of smoke. Out of Wanbao Pavilion, Yi Chen patted a few swollen storage bags in his arms. It's really like Da Hai Hai said that all he bought was used by the Yin, but there was no way, it was all forced. Knowing that there were more than one true enemies waiting for him in the barren forest, he would naturally do everything ready. Don't blame me, it's all forced. Yi Chen muttered softly, holding his storage bag. He has made up his mind to change his style of playing hard and strong in the barren forest. He wants to enter the inner door. He decides to shamelessly. If he wants to enter the inner door, he must do everything, even if all use the means of the Yin. As Yi Chen muttered, a charming woman's fragrant wind rushed forward. His nose shook a bit, and Yi Chen ran without even thinking about turning his head, crawling and crawling, as if he knew who was coming. Good apprentice, is it so scary to be a teacher? The woman's laughter was beautiful and beautiful. Chu's honor had turned out, waved the jade arm at will, and took Yi Chen back on the spot. Interesting. Returned as a chick again, Yi Chen smiled on the spot. Master, early. You guys, how slow are you climbing? Such a high cliff. You climbed up in less than a day. I really look down on you as a teacher. Chu Shuaner's beautiful cheeks came over, May eyes blinked moving, especially the smiling expression, made Yi Chen look faint. Interesting. Yi Chen once again pretended to be a silly smile. Just as the teacher is free tonight, let's have a good chat. Without waiting for Yi Chen to speak, Chu Shuaner held Yi Chen in one hand and stepped into the void, like a magical rainbow flying towards the Heng Yuzong Haoshan. What? Soon, Heng Yuzong's scream came again in the mountains. Looking at it from a distance, it was another tree with a crooked neck, and Yi Chen, who was swollen with a blue nose and a swollen face, was hung on it again, and shook with the wind. As for the tree, Chu's honor was holding Erlang's legs. There were leisurely melon seeds. Let's talk. How did you get up? Chu Shuaner hurriedly cuddled Guo Zer while asking with interest. Elder Lin from Ling Saoyuan brought me here. Yi Chen gave a casual reason, but didn't want his secret to be found. Well, the reason is very good. Chu Shuaner nodded casually and looked at Yi Chen with a smile. I will ask Brother Lin another day. If I find you to lie to me, the consequences should not be too good. Hearing that, Yi Chen could not help but twitch. What I'm telling you, I think about it. Chu Shuaner stabbed Yi Chen with a small stick. I have someone I like. Yi Chen cried with a sad face, naturally knowing what Chu Shuaner was talking about. Wasn't he just asking him to marry Chi Yu? Without waiting for Chu Shuaner to speak, Yi Chen hurriedly opened up the topic again. Again, this matter is not in a hurry. 2 days later I will be tested in the wild forest, but I heard that there are several people in the inner door who will destroy me. Master, you can help me. Quote, help you? How can I help you? Chu Shuaner shrugged. Can I be the teacher to take the test for you? That's 3 true sun realms. So what? Chu Shuaner almost choked Yi Chen to death. Yi Chen was quitting, and he was shaking and struggling, and shouting in his throat. Elder Shu Fu gave Sister Chi Yu both the Lingdan and the secret method. You can do it. I saw you hit me. All are masters, why is the gap so big? Quote. Giggle. Unexpectedly, after listening to Yi Chen's complaint, the beautiful Chu's honor couldn't help giggling. Little guy, I'm very angry to see you for your teacher. Nonsense. Then you talk about it and want to reward you as a teacher. Chu Shuner raised her beautiful cheeks, blinking like water waves, and looked at Yi Chen hung on the tree with a smile. Hearing Chu Shuner's words, Yi Chen could not help but cough. The worst thing is to reward me with a secret method. You said it earlier. If I said it earlier, I'll give it to you. After hearing this sentence, the corner of Yi Chen's mouth jerked back and forth a dozen times. Your sister, you didn't say it earlier. Lao Su would have already spoken earlier. You should come over your secret technique and practice 100. Throw your face 80 times. Naturally, these words can only be considered in my heart. If this is said, Chu Shuner will cry for him. This is what you pass. Chu Shuner smiled and groaned, and her form and appearance have changed greatly, turning into a beautiful scholar. A beautiful turn, his form and appearance changed again, and became a fairy wind. Old way of bone. Next, Chu Shuner's constantly changing shape and appearance, once became an old man who was very old, and then he was an old man with a sturdy figure. He changed and became a delicate and playful girl. Transfiguration, do you want to learn? Once again, Chu Shuner looked at Yi Chen with interest. I don't want to learn. Yi Chen shook his head like a rattle, not that he didn't want to learn, but that he had learned from Chu Zan's transformation just now. This is the dominance of Shanlinian. As long as it is not too deep, he can deduct the copy and use it for his own use. I don't know if Chu Shuner knows that Yi Chen has this ability. It will be a kind of expression. Yi Chen's answer was clearly beyond Chu Shuner's surprise. You should know that this is a secret method she carefully selected for Yi Chen. In Yi Chen's view, maybe her master is very out of tune, but in fact, she still cares about the apprentice Yi Chen, who brought Yi Chen here in the middle of the night, really just for chatting. The answer is no. She naturally knows what kind of situation Yi Chen will face in the trial of the barren forest, so she chooses the transfiguration technique for Yi Chen, in order to change the shape of Yi Chen, thereby escaping Kong Sao's containment. However, what made her mistaken was that Yi Chen didn't want to learn. Transfiguration is the best secret technique in the easy-to-conceal method. Entering the barren forest, changing the form and appearance is enough for you to escape the containment of Kong Sao and their good intentions. Your kid doesn't want to learn. No. Chu Shuner was soaring, his hands were on his hips, and he was about to pose once in Yi Yechen. I don't want to learn. Looking at the posture, Yi Chen said in a hurry, I will do the secret technique of transformation. You too. Chu Shuner looked at Yi Chen with a look of disbelief. Chapter 118. Rage Dragon Wrath. Looking at Chu Shuner's face, Yi Chen secretly said that he had to show his hand. As soon as he was about to perform the transfiguration, Yi Chen stunned and tied his own rope again, and he laughed, that, master. Can you always put it down to the disciples first? Your rope restrains my anger. Quote. I'd like to see, what can you change out? Chu Shuner immediately waved his hand and collected the special sacrifice rope. After being put down, Yi Chen first touched his swollen face, and then moved his muscles and bones. Then he moved his handprints and made a circle in this way. In the end, he didn't forget to cry, change. Quote. Suddenly, there was white gas on his body, and his appearance changed dramatically at this instant. He became a man with a big beard, shirtless, with a fierce face, and his eyes became brutal and fierce, and his muscles became exquisite, like a dragon, full of explosive power. Beauty master, look like you. Yi Chen turned around, satisfied with the transformation she had secretly learned, and couldn't help but marvel at the immortal deduction ability of that fairy wheel eye again. Looking at Chu Shuner again, her look has become very exciting. How could she think of a condensate disciple during the internship period, which would be such a good transformation? Become another one. On the side, Yi Chen, who has learned the transfiguration technique, constantly changes this form and appearance, sometimes an old man, sometimes a scholar, sometimes a woman, sometimes a teenager. In the end, he simply became Chu Shuner. This kid, looking at Yi Chen in front of her, Chu Xuaner's beautiful eyes overflowed with wonder. Hey, yes. While turning around, Yi Chen raised his hand from time to time to look at himself, and he became wonderful, but if it is appearance, it is difficult for outsiders to recognize who Chu Xuaner is. It's kind of soft, hee. Yi Chen's hands rested on her chest, rubbing the pair of tender jade peaks. The crispy feeling was like touching Chu Zan children's jade. General chest. Looking at Yi Chen's behavior, Chu Xuaner's beautiful eyes ignited sparks at a speed visible to the naked eye. Although Yi Chen touched himself, you must know that he is now Chu Xuaner. Touching the pair of jade peak in such a blatant manner, she was ashamed and angry. Snapped. Soon, loud applause sounded, especially crisp and bright, still touching his double chest. Yi Chen was hit by a slap on the ground. I let you touch it, let you touch it. Chu Xuaner had rolled up his sleeves on the spot and slammed Yi Chen on the ground again. His nose was not his nose, his face was not his face, or he was beaten up. I rely, Lao Su did not touch you. Yi Chen was screamed, but greeted him with a slap covering his face. I do not know when Chu Zaner also patted Yusho and stood up, took a deep breath, and on the beautiful cheek was clearly written a word, Shuang. Look at Yi Chen again. My face is full of bitter tears. I am in a good mood for the teacher today, this secret method rewards you. Chu Xuaner shook her hair and stepped into the void, and then a jade chain fell down and fell in front of Yi Chen. Yi Chen, who had been so embarrassed that he couldn't pull a few, heard the secret method, wiped a ***** nose on the spot, and picked up the jade chain on the ground. This beat is worth it. Yi Chen covered her swollen face with a grin, and if he was beaten to make secrets, he really wanted Chu Xuaner to come back and beat him a few times. I didn't know Chu Xuaner knew Yi Chen. Such an idea. Would you say something meaningful to Yi Chen? You are so mean. Under the moonlight, Yi Chen sat on an ancient tree vine in Haoshan. Click. With his fingers pressed hard, that jade was crushed by him on the spot. Immediately, a ray of light penetrated into his brow's eyebrow, and turned into a piece of brilliant text, which was faintly visible. At the very front of that brilliant text, there were two larger texts. Crazy Dragon Sky Wrath. Crazy Dragon is angry. Yi Chen had closed her eyes and was immersed in them, mumbling these 4 words to herself. From the introduction to the Crazy Dragon Sky Rage, he learned that this is a sonic mystery. Most of the time it is dedicated to attacking the mystery of the human soul, practice to the end, and roar through the sky. It's a mysterious mystery to attack the soul. Yi Chen's face showed ecstasy. If he roared with a throat, it wouldn't be a piece of cake. Yi Chen realized that Chu Xuaner didn't fool him, but actually passed on a horrible secret. The soul is mysterious, and the mystery against the soul is rare. If used properly against the enemy, it will definitely has an unexpected effect. Secretly suppressing the excitement in his heart, he was calm, and had been absorbed in the mystery of the Mad Dragon Day Wrath. The night sky is deep, and broken stars are like dust. Hengyu Haoshan is very lonely, and Yi Chen sits on his knees withered vines, and sits like an old monk meditation. All his attention is focused on the realization of the Mad Dragon's anger. As time passed, his eyebrows were sometimes locked and stretched. In the subtle way, in the realization of the Mad Dragon and Day anger, he also has a deeper understanding of the soul power. The Mad Dragon and Day anger is an attacking mystery against the soul. Nature and soul power have a great relationship. In other words, the strength of Dragon Sky Wrath is mostly determined by the level of soul power. In addition, he also found that the use of this Crazy Dragon Sky Wrath requires soul power, and the soul power level must be at least qualified in the spirit mirror, otherwise he will be injured by the overbearing Crazy Dragon Sky Wrath. He already possesses the qualifications needed to cultivate the Mad Dragon Sky Wrath. Shu Fu had measured his soul power for him, and his level was in the spiritual realm. Sure enough, it is an overbearing mystery. Take control of the vitality, mobilize the soul power, display the Mad Dragon Sky anger in a sonic way, and bring heavy damage to the enemy soul. The predecessors who created this Mad Dragon Day Wrath are truly extraordinary. With continuous murmuring, Yi Chen slowly opened his eyes, and the practice method of Kuanglongtian's wrath has been imprinted in his mind. I don't know how powerful it is, Yi Chen said, turning over and jumping up, and then came to a rock wall. Taking a deep breath, he closed his eyes again, and with the Mad Dragon Sky Anger meditation in his heart, his true energy and soul power were all drawn at the same time, and then they merged together and gathered in the chest. Suddenly, his eyes suddenly opened and he opened his mouth and shouted suddenly. Suddenly, the strength gathered in his chest burst out suddenly, pouring out of his mouth. Roar! The majestic sound wave spread with the majestic dragon groan and hit the rock wall. The hard rock wall trembled. Wow! Immediately, Yi Chen's muffled voice sounded. First, there was a buzzing and tingling in his head, and then a burst of blood in his body, a sharp pain in his chest, and a sore throat due to the overbearing sound waves. Puff! It's really overbearing. Yi Chen sighed and couldn't help but touched his chin, wondering secretly, one day should find another opportunity to flicker his master to perform mystery, and he could steal it with the help of Shanlinian. This matter will be said later, the test of the barren forest is the most important. With this transfiguration and mad dragon anger, coupled with my large capacity Danhai, Weishuanden, and those shameful things, the test of the barren forest is not as difficult as imagined. Quote, in my mind, Yi Chen sneered at the corner of his mouth. The barren forest formed a realm and covered an extremely wide area. He had the capital and energy to deal with Zuo Qiuming. If he is good at it, there may be unexpected gains. Chapter 119. What are you doing? Roar! Roar! The night was quiet, but Heng Yuzong's mighty vocal roar had never been cut off. Since learning this secret method of Mad Dragon and Day Anger, Yi Chen has been completely immersed in it. Many times, and the deduction of Shanlin's eyes to the origin, he has fully grasped the essence of this sonic mystery. Roar! With the last roar of the Mad Dragon falling, Yi Chen exhaled a deep breath. If you have this secret method, the odds will be even greater. Yi Chen's mouth was full of smiles, and the secret test of the next barren road must be wonderful. After a brief breath adjustment, Yi Chen summoned the Uncle Zishuan without any delay. Although it is a tadpole, the one-armed Zizan has a different kind of posture. Her clothes are dangling and her face is peerless. Although there are no emotional fluctuations, she is bathed in the moonlight of a star, and she is like a 9-day man. Fairy-like. It's a pity that such a beautiful woman has been made into a puppet. If you let your loved ones see it, I don't know how much it hurts. If it is okay, in his years, I will put you in peace. The deceased is dead, and perhaps long sleep will be your best place to go. Huh, Yi Chen muttered to himself, and suddenly hesitated softly. He looked at the beautiful lady in front of him, and he stumbled to find that he could absorb the bright starlight and bright moonlight on his own. Whenever Xingwei moonlight contaminated her body, he would be absorbed inexplicably. For a time, the beautiful Zizan, under the shower of Xingwei moonlight, became immaculate. What's the situation? Yi Chen couldn't help but step forward and circled around Zishuan. You are so weird. Yi Chen fingered her lips, while Yi Chen looked up and down, and muttered quietly, she could absorb the moonlight of Xingwei, which was beyond his expectation. However, where does he know that after Zishuan was tempered by the fairy fire, he unraveled some kind of seal of this deity, and then this strange phenomenon will appear now? Naturally, he didn't know these, everything became a constant number in coincidence. No abnormalities were found. Yi Chen stood in front of Yun Zishuan, her eyebrows were slightly wrinkled, and her eyes were dim. With his eyesight in mind, she could naturally guess the magpie in front of her. It was not just beautiful and simple. Suddenly, Yi Chen closed her left eye slightly. Shanlinian, open. As he murmured, his left eye suddenly opened. Suddenly, a strange power emanated from his left eye, and his left eye became more and more different, deep and boundless, staring at the sky and the vast sea, especially the immortal mark on the pupil. Mysterious and infinite. What secret do you have? Murmured to himself, Yi Chen looked at Zishuan with Shanlin eyes. He found that, as he saw with ordinary eyes, Zishuan was not abnormal, and the starlight moonlight absorbed by her entered the body, but disappeared inexplicably. Weird, really weird. Fingers rubbed his chin, and Yi Chen turned around for more than a dozen times without notice. Helpless, Yi Chen had to hide the eyes of Shanlin, and then sat on the stone with his eyes closed to practice meditation. It was just that he hadn't noticed that at the moment he closed his eyes, there was a faint light flashing in the eyes of Muzan next to him, but this faint light was fleeting. Changing day and night, the reincarnation of the sun and the moon, just 2 days later. In the early morning, Heng Yizong's outside door, many disciples got up very early, mostly standing on the stone to look at the direction of Chenkin Pavilion. Today is the day when the disciples who win the competition outside the door enter the barren forest. Passing the test of the barren forest means that the disciples who are really insiders can only stay in the outside door for another 3 years. Since the Hengyu Zongjian faction, this barren forest test has always existed. For a long time, the barren forest test has an unwritten rule, that is, at least half of the outside disciples who go in for the test will be brushed down. This shows that the barren forest test is strict. In the distance, Yi Chen had slowly walked with his huge Tianjian sword. When it came into view of many disciples, he immediately caused a commotion. I still remember that when he first arrived, he had a heavy breath, it was less than 2 months, and he grew so horrible. There were too many disciples groaned, remembering their disdain for Yi Chen that day, feeling how ridiculous. Sure enough, you can't judge people by their appearance. Ren Yongfeng and Di Yangfeng's true disciples were beaten by him more than half, and there is also the commandment hall. Even if the boy is at the inner door, he is not destined to be a peaceful master, and he may stir the inner door upside down. Maybe. Quote. For the discussion around him, Yi Chen ignored it directly, walking slowly with the sound of nature, and his steps were firm and steady. People around him gave way to him in a tacit way. Today, Yi Chen is no longer something they can despise. Puff, puff, puff. Successive vomiting sounds came from Ren Yangfeng, Di Yangfeng and Jiatang Hall. Zhang Hao, Purple Shirt, and Yin Jiping all looked at this side with the help of their brothers and sisters. When they saw Yi Chen's back from a distance they vomited blood again. Speaking of these 3 people is indeed sighing. 3 years ago, they were out of luck. They spent 3 years in the outside door, and they were already famous, but they never thought that a Yi Chen would emerge, from being despised by them to being overthrown by Yi Chen. It all seemed like a dream. Today, this year's outside door is much worse than the last time they were defeated. The defeat also shows that they have to stay outside for 3 years. This kind of state of mind may only be understood by them. The world is impermanent, and now there are Yi Chens, maybe 3 years later, there will be a second Yi Chen, and they will be defeated again. What? The roar of roar rang through the door of Heng Yizong. Zhang Hao and the 3 of them were like crazy dogs. They tried to rush down the mountain, but vomited blood again. Hearing the roar of the 3 men, Yi Chen glanced at the 3 directions and said coldly, "The iniquity of the sky is unforgivable, and the iniquity of the man cannot be lived. This is what you seek." Having said that, Yi Chen took a big step and went straight to Chenkin Pavilion. He may be the last one. When he entered Chenkin Pavilion, Xie Yun, Qi Yu, and Shang had all arrived ahead of time, and nearly 300 disciples who had won the outside contest were also here. Brothers and sisters, you are all here. Yi Chen walked in, not forgetting to greet a hand. Fart, I'm waiting for you. Shang came out, dragging Yi Chen over. Yi Chen coughed and walked into the queue consciously. The 300 people were neatly lined up in groups. Did Elder Li Daodong of Chenkin Pavilion still have it? Yi Chen froze around, only to find that there were a few disciples of Diongfeng standing next to him. Just looking at him one by one with red eyes, the grieving hatred couldn't tear him. What are you doing? Yi Chen looked up and down one of the disciples in purple. Well, you scum on the ground. The disciple in purple clothes raised his chin high, and Niubi was almost going to heaven. Okay, I remember you, I'll wait in the barren forest to see how I pack you. I'm afraid you have a life to go in, but a life out. Disciple Zi's words were unabashed. Like him, the disciples of Ren Yangfeng, Di Yangfeng, and Jialutang all showed their grievous smiles. It seems that they also heard that the disciples sent by the inner door were Kong Sao and they dared to be so brazen. Who doesn't have to clean up? Yi Chen sneered. Elder Li is here. I didn't know who shouted before interrupting the episode. The crowd stood on their feet now. The originally chaotic team suddenly became tidy and straight, and on the high stage in front of them, the first Li Daodong of Chenkin Pavilion had fallen from midair. Chapter 120. Nonsense Unit. Are all people here? Li Daodong looked around and looked at Yi Chen for an extra second. Everything is here, elders, let's get started. Shang called loudest. This was a bit impatient, rubbing his fists, a eager posture. Okay. Elder Li Daodong nodded his head gently, and then said in a deep voice, you must have understood the test in the barren forest. Here, I would like to reiterate that this test prohibits the use of the Sky Thunder Curse and the Sky Spirit Curse. And the Curse of the Sky. Quote. Speaking, Elder Li Daodong also took out a luminous jade slip and continued, everyone will carry such a jade slip with him. This jade slip is engraved with your own soul brand. In a crisis, or if you want to give up the test, you can crush this jade slip. The teleportation array carried by the jade slip will teleport you out of the barren forest, but it also shows that the person who crushed the jade slip is lost. Eligibility to enter the interior door. Quote. 5 people, teamwork. The barren forest test has a 3-day period. If a disciple who fails to pass the test and enters the inner door after 3 days passes, the test is considered a failure. The barren forest is designed to test, not to hurt human lives, and offenders must be punished by door regulations. Having said that, Li Daodong just took out a wooden box. Come on, go forward and draw lots. If the number is the same, it is a team. I'm here first, I'm here first. As soon as Li Daodong's words fell, Shang who was plump in shape, rushed over. His chubby hand reached into the wooden box and stirred for a while before he came up with a small wooden sign. Number 4. Taking a look at the small wooden sign, Shang held it up. Then, the uncle clasped his hands and prayed, Tianling Ling 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 Ling, Supreme Master quickly manifested, let Xie Yun draw to know. 4. Yi Chen draw to number 4, and Huo Teng draw. Go to number 4 and let your daughter-in-law draw no. 4. Quote. This goods is not stupid, except for his daughter-in-law Tang Rushuan, the remaining 3 picked the strongest ones. The whole thing is useless. Xie Yun gave the bear a second glance, and stepped forward, holding out a small wooden sign. What's the number? Shang seemed to be more concerned than Xie Yun, and his fat head was gathered on the spot, but when he saw the numbers on the small wooden sign, his face suddenly pulled down. Xie Yun picked number 2 and obviously was not in the same team as Shang. Next, nearly 300 people lined up to draw small wooden signs. Wow, I got the number 2. When a disciple saw the number on his small wooden sign, he jumped up and down, because with the team of Xie Yun, the chance of entering the inner door is too great. 6th, wow haha, brother Huo Teng and I are in a team. Your sister, there isn't a great one in the lousy team. Some disciples also scolded when they saw their small wooden sign number. Later, it became lively here. Naturally, some people rejoiced and some were worried. Those who belonged to a team with great disciples were naturally happy, but a bunch of asterisk stuff was a moral issue. It's not bad. Yi Chen, who was still standing in line, froze, and found that the person who had drawn a number was already together. Although Shang did not go to Yi Chen, Xie Yun, and Huo Teng, he and Qi Yu were assigned to a group. It happened that his daughter-in-law Tang Rushuan was also assigned to his team. As for the other teams, with the exception of a few nonsense, they are basically a balance of strength and weakness, especially Wang Lin of the Spirit Orchard and Xiao Jing of the Law Enforcement Hall. They drafted a team, which really envied many people. Listening to the people around him, Yi Chen also came to the wooden box. Reaching out to grab a small wooden sign from the small wooden box and glanced at the number on the small wooden sign, Yi Chen could not help but glance around. At this moment, Yi Chen's mouth twitched violently. The 4 people who got a number with him were all his enemies, 2 were Diongfeng, 1 was Renyongfeng, and the commandment hall was 1. You shudder. Yi Chen could not help but rub his eyebrows. It's all fate. Xie Yun patted Yi Chen's shoulders in an underpump. You're a bad boy. After everyone had drawn the number, this group of 5 people stood in more than 50 teams. A glance at his teammates left and right, Yi Chen's head simply shuddered. Teamwork. Nonsense. It's good that these teammates don't give him a knife. Sure enough, everything depends on yourself. Yi Chen could not help but curse. Set off. With the order of Li Daodong, the first of Chengkan Pavilion, more than 50 teams of disciples went towards the barren forest. Before the barren forest, there were also more than 50 entrances, corresponding to more than 50 teams of disciples. What was drawn was the number of entrances, so they had to enter through the entrances to prevent conspiracy among the respective teams. Boy, you ask for blessings. Before leaving, Shang also patted Yi Chen's shoulders with great care. Get off to Lao Su. Yi Chen's face Pang Lao's life was long and dead. Before leaving, he did not forget to kick Shang. Hey, Huo Teng and Chi Yu both sighed and sighed, and then took their own teams into the desert forest. After all the teams entered, Yi Chen stunned the remaining 4 in his team. At this moment, they were looking at each other with sneer, and clearly said in these eyes, "Boy, you just wait and see. When you enter the barren forest, you will die terribly. A bunch of stupid people." Yi Chen cursed and stepped into the barren forest. As soon as he walked into the barren forest, Yi Chen whispered. The barren forest has its own borders. Where the eyes stand, the ancient trees stand tall, the flowers and trees are lush, the various lingers are aura, the depth of the flowers and trees, and the small lofts can be seen. It's strange. Touching his chin, Yi Chen couldn't help but marvel at the wonderful setting in this barren forest. Humph! A cold humming sounded, sneering with the 4 members of Yi Chen's team. The 4 snakes and rats rattled off in a hurry, and they swept Yi Chen together, but they swept away together. All right, this is a team. Now the 4 of them conspired to kick Yi Chen out of the team. It's best to go. Lao Su didn't plan to be with you. With a sneer, Yi Chen also followed his steps and walked deeper. However, what made him strange was that he was not slow, but he didn't see the shadows of the other 4 of his team along the way, so that he stopped before chasing into a misty and miscellaneous forest. The 4 rabbits are not slow. Cursed, Yi Chen stepped into this misty and miscellaneous forest. The mixed forest was covered with fog, covering his vision. All he could see was a distance of 3 feet, and he found that the deeper the fog, the thicker it was. The distance is indistinguishable. What a ghost place. Glancing around, all he could see was the fog. Yi Chen's vigilance rose. He always felt that there were a pair of eyes staring at him. Just as he was about to step forward, there was a sudden sword screaming in the oblique side, and then a dark and slender sword cut through the air and came to his throat. Yi Chen's eyes were fast, and he slightly turned to the side, avoiding the attack easily, then turned his palm and knocked the man who sneaked into the ground secretly. When he stepped forward, he noticed that it was a puppet, and it was a human-level puppet. The sound of Jianming resounded from behind him, and at the same time, there were whispers of the sword from front to back, left and right. It was seen that more than one symbol was attacking him secretly. Yi Chen immediately drew out the backpack, and then moved around in a powerful and overbearing manner. Quang dang, quang dang. Soon, the sound of metal collision sounded one after another. Although the 4 crickets that had been slain, their bodies were as hard as iron, but they were still smashed by Yi Chen. This place shouldn't stay for a long time. 5 Chens had been resolved one after another, and Yi Chen immediately strode.